Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Players Take episode 246. I'm your host, Justin DeSimone, joined by my co-host, Montrell Rice. Montrell, how are you?
I'm doing fine, but how are you?
Yeah, so, a couple things before we get into the show proper here, everybody. I'm sick. I've been sick all week, so I'm trying to power through this right now to record. I think I can get through like an hour or an hour and a half, but we'll see how long I can go here. I'm all medicated right now, and I feel okay at the moment. So we're going to try to power through this. It's probably not going to be as much bullshitting as normal. And then the second thing I did want to bring up is we are going to be taking the week of Thanksgiving off. We did this last year. We said, we're going to start doing this every year, which we are. So there will be no episode on that would be the 24th, Friday the 24th. There will be no episode that day. So do not expect one. We're not going to pre-record anything. We're just taking the week off. We're going to, relax, enjoy time with family, and enjoy the holiday week. So there won't be an episode on the 24th, but we will be back December 1st, of course, with normal episodes. So it'll just be a 1 week interruption. But other than that, Montreal. So kind of want to just get into it here. Is there anything you want to talk about before we get started, or you just want to jump in the rigmarole?
We can jump right into it.
All right, everybody. So for those of you who haven't listened before, this is our weekly show where we talk about video games, video game news, and other topics pertaining to video games. We post at 6 a.m. Central Time on Fridays on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and your favorite podcast app of choice. And if you'd like to send us questions, you can do so on Twitter, or you can send us an email to theplayerstake01@gmail.com. All right, Montreal, let's start like we always do with what we've been playing. I got a couple things to talk about. Do you have anything besides League you want to talk about?
Actually, I don't really have too much to talk about with League. We can just go straight into your shits.
Okay. All right, fair enough. So yeah, I've been playing I finished Spider-Man 2, so we're going to get into that later after we're going to be doing one or two news items today, and then we'll talk about Spider-Man after that. We're going to do a full Spoilercast breakdown of that. Genshin, the new patch came out, along with it the end of the current region's Archon quests. So I actually finished that today, and felt like it was pretty good. I enjoyed Fontaine a lot. I like the story in it. I like the presentation of the story and kind of the way they I don't know, there's some different things here. There's a little bit more investigative stuff that they kind of got you up to in this region versus some of the others, and I enjoyed that. I think this is a well presented region. I like a lot of the characters that were in this region as well, and the way the story concluded was certainly interesting. It didn't surprise me necessarily in any major ways, but I still enjoyed the way it ended. Nonetheless, without getting into spoilers specifically, where characters kind of were left and where the region as a whole was left. I kind of enjoyed that whole element to the story in Fontaine. So I think like I was kind of waiting for this patch. I do think I may be kind of dropping this game at this point for now. Now that I'm caught up with the main story, there's going to be probably one or two more main story updates until they release the next region next year in like August or late July probably. So, I mean, we're talking 10 months probably, or 9 months till we get that new area added to the game. So I'm not necessarily going to take a break for that entire time frame, but I think for now I'm kind of content with where I'm at with the game right now, and I think I may just put it down to kind of free up some time for some other stuff. So yeah. But if you you played Genshin, you're kind of you haven't played in a while. Fontaine was a very good region. I've enjoyed the open world part of it as well, a lot. So I think it's definitely worth coming back to experience if you're only doing it for that part of it. I still think it's worth coming back to for sure. So outside of that, like I said, I finished Spider-Man 2, and I actually bought Star Ocean: The Second Story R, which was the game I played the demo of back in October. And I enjoyed that quite a bit, and I've been looking forward to playing this after Spider-Man. So it came out a week ago last week, and I hadn't quite finished Spider-Man yet, so But now that I downloaded it, started playing it. I'm not very far. I'm like an hour in. I haven't gotten past the point where I was in the demo yet, so I don't have much to say about this. Other than that, I've gotten the same vibe that I did off the demo, and I'm very excited to play it some more and get deeper into this game. So that's all I've been playing. Montreal, you haven't been playing anything other than League? Is that really all you've been playing this week?
be honest with you, I've barely been playing that. I've been actually watching a lot of stuff lately. So
Oh, gotcha.
primarily
Okay.
what I've been doing, um, yeah, I'm trying to catch up on Attack on Titan, so I'm trying to refresh my
Mm,
memory on that
hmm.
since that's already finished. I'm trying to watch Jujutsu Kaisen as well.
I've been
Second
watching that
season,
too. Yeah.
yeah, second season just came out, so I'm actually going to rewatch the first season because I think that was a really good season. I tried to do. I watched a couple of movies as well. Like I watched Creed 3, which is on the second rewatch is actually really good because you can see all the references. They had a Naruto reference in there. Um, it was one part where uh like Creed and his friend Damien are fighting in the ring or whatever, and then obviously they're in the biggest stadium, lights and cameras and everything, people surrounding them, and then it goes the scene switches to like they're in like almost like another world or dimension, like
Yeah.
it's just like empty ass world or whatever, and it reminded me of the fight between Michimaru or not Michimaru, but Kakashi and Nobito when they went into the other
Oh
world and
yeah.
they were just fighting. It was just silent and it was just the music and them fighting each other. Um, they also did one scene where I don't know if you remember it was Majin Vegeta versus Goku and they were fighting each other
Hmm.
and they punched
Yeah.
each other in the face. Uh, they did that in the movie as well as the reference to that.
Oh yeah.
Uh, and they did like certain scenes where you know how anime they would zoom in on some on the main character's eyes when they focus on something like, oh,
Hmm.
that's his weak point. Like they did
Yeah.
that in certain parts of the movie too. So
Okay.
it was just cool to see because he did say that he was inspired by anime when he made that movie. Um, and I can see all the anime references in the movie, but it's not like I wouldn't say it's an anime movie. It's still a really good movie that any normal person can enjoy. But if you know anime, you'll enjoy it even more. Um, also watched Dune over the weekend as well. I finally see the hype behind that movie. I think it's what Star Wars should have been. But I
Yeah.
like the movie. I didn't read the books or whatever. Um, or maybe I did that last weekend. I don't know. My weekends are starting to like overlap. I may have talked about Dune last week, but I also rewatched Arcane, which is really bad on the second rewatch. Um,
Oh
I
no. What do you
tried to
mean?
I tried to watch it with Deanna, and it was painfully boring. Like, um,
Huh.
because I already knew what was going to happen, maybe. But then even she was watching it, and she just lost interest in it. She's like, "We're in our third episode. Does it get any better?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, but like."
Shit.
It was like not to a buy and all the characters get into like their teens or their older stage. The episodes gets really good, but like the first three episodes are a fucking slog.
Yeah,
Like,
I actually agree with that. Yeah. I,
yeah,
I I think the prologue where they're kids, yeah, definitely. I don't
yeah. So unfortunately, I think it's like 4 or 5 episodes of that though. I don't think they
know. No, it's
become
only.
kids.
I think it was three. I think by the end of three, it had trans. I think it was too long though. That's what I remember. It was like
Yeah,
it was close to half the show's entire length,
yeah,
and that to me was too much personally.
yeah, yeah. And I think you complained about that the first time we watched it. And I don't think I agree with you, but now I agree with you because it's
Hmm.
on the second rewatch is really bad. Not really bad, but it's just painfully boring. Um, until you get to later stages of it, and then even the later stages of it, they're like, and I understand everything needs a down section, like just to kind of ease the tension, or you had a really high moment, and now you trying to bring the audience back down to a low moments and stuff like that. And I understand those ebb and flows, but I don't know, man. I feel like we had 3 episodes of 3 hours worth of low moments. I need nothing but like straight action or straight like get to the point,
Yeah.
Um
Yeah, there aren't enough. Like the fighting is good, but it's short. There's
yeah,
not very many fighting segments of the show actually.
yeah. So They just announced that they're going to be season 2 comes out next year in November,
Yep.
which
Yep.
okay, I'm glad for that because if I
Why
get
did it
more
take
animated,
3 years though? Like, can
bro, if I get more animated
like
fight scenes, I think it's worth it. Like to
yeah.
be honest with you,
I hope so, because dude, it's just like again, these shows are like this fucking ridiculous. Like Invincible is the same shit. It's just coming out with its second fucking season, and that show they're splitting their fucking season in two, and they're doing these weekly
yeah,
releases, and they're like, oh, we're gonna do 4 episodes this year and 4 episodes in fucking January, and it's just like they're fucking milking the fuck out of this because it's taking them 3 years to make a fucking season, of these
yeah,
shows. Like I'm just like, what the hell is going on, man? It's like
yeah.
I don't know.
So I mean, I've been just primarily watching like while I game and stuff like that, and anime and stuff, and I've been looking since I got this monitor. I have to look into getting a second monitor, but I'm not gonna do horizontal setup. I'm gonna do a stack setup. So I'm gonna get a
Me
arm
too.
for because I just want more desk space, and one monitor allows me to have more desk space. So if I stack it, then I still have that desk space, and they'll just be going vertical. So
Yeah.
I think that would
Yeah.
be the superior way to get dual monitors or whatever. So I'm gonna
Well,
do that. And I'm gonna and we're gonna start streaming soon, like probably next year, early next year. So I got to get prepared for that as well.
yeah.
Um,
Well, for Jujutsu Kaisen, I will say before you watch season 2, make sure you watch the movie.
there's a movie.
Um, yes, there is a movie. It's I think it's called Jujutsu Kaisen Zero. You
Okay.
need to watch that before you watch season 2. It is important for the
Okay.
plot. So, um, it's good though. I actually like that movie a lot. It was definitely enjoyable for sure. So,
Okay.
yeah, but I've been watching that as well, and I'm like, I probably should have done what you're doing. I should have rewatched season 1 because, dude, I don't remember any character names or who's who. Like, I remember like Gojo, and that's like it. Like I don't
Yep.
really remember anybody else. Like I remember the main character, Itadori. And then that's it, dude. Though, like some of the other characters, I'm like, who? What's their name? Who are they? Like, I'm like lucky
Exactly.
that the characters say the names so much of each other because I'm like, man, dude, like I don't remember this show at all. Like,
Yeah, that's why I didn't want to do because like the seasons took. I think this came out during the pandemic as well. So everything just took a while for it to come out for a second season.
mhm.
So yeah, I'm excited to. I'm going through. I think I'm on like the fourth episode or whatever. And yeah, I'm just rewatching it and everything. And then I like how it's pretty short. Like the action is pretty steady. I don't know. I just don't have time anymore for like I love character building, but like anime takes so fucking long for care. Like I'm thinking like Naruto, right? Like
Oh
sometimes you just get a
God.
pure episode. You get one episode or like five episodes of nothing but character building. Which is good, or like world building and everything like that, which is really good. But it's just like I don't have time for that anymore. I'm still trying to get into One Piece. Actually, I like the show, the live action show, way more than anime. It's crazy.
That's
I think the
hilarious.
live action is really good. I
Yeah.
just cannot get into the anime, bro. Um, so yeah, I mean that's primarily what I've been doing. I haven't really been playing anything. Every time I think this weekend, after this weekend, because we got to do a lot of cleaning up and everything. I am going to start playing video games again. But right now, I'm just like, if somebody calls me to get on a fucking league or Apex, I'll just do that or whatever, and then um, chilling or whatever.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and I mean, League's been fun. I'm definitely enjoying it. I think things feel good right now with the game, but we
yeah,
haven't played that much, so I don't know if that's just we're in like a honeymoon phase again, or we haven't been like fully integrated back into the matchmaking where we get fucked, the way we used to. I don't know.
no, it
But
was we've been playing. So I don't know. When I'm playing by myself, I'm playing with platinum, emerald, and gold players in norms. But it's still okay for some reason. I still don't feel like the only time I feel like it's really bad is when I playing against like three characters, and those three characters is Aurelian or four characters. So Aurelian Soul, Nocturne, Kha'Zix, and Briar. I think those characters are way. I don't know for Nocturne and for Kha'Zix and specifically. I don't know what the fuck you do about those characters. I don't know if it's their numbers that are over tuned or it's the items they're using. particularly the assassins items. It's like if you nerf those, but then you're gonna nerf the entire assassin class, right?
Hmm.
So it's like I don't know what you do about that. Nocturne, I just think his clear speed is just way too fast. He's just way too tanky and he does way too much damage.
Yeah.
He does everything. Oh, and it's another character, Cassidon. Uh, Aurelian Soul and Cassidon are like, we thought Vigar was bad late game. At least Vigar can get shut down. Cassidon, he has a built-in flash, so his R he can constantly flash, just constantly
Hmm.
teleport,
Yeah.
and he becomes a late game monster. Like after 25 minutes, he can one shot somebody, no matter how much you shut him down in lane or whatever. Um, so I mean, it's an issue in low elo because they don't know how to continuously shut down people once they shut them down in lane. And Aurelian Soul is the same way. I mean, I don't even have to talk about him. We all know like
Yeah.
why he's a
Oh yeah.
monster. I think he's very safe in lane, early game, and then late game, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and then he's online. You know, he's flying across the map like a B-22 or B-52 bomber and just blowing everybody up,
Yeah.
like a fucking AC-130. So those are the five characters I really do have issues with, to be honest with you. I think everybody else is manageable. I know they say they're like, oh, these even Jax, I feel like is manageable because I figured out the way how to fuck over Jax really well. I was playing Alistair in one game. I think it was with y'all actually, and we
Yeah.
barely lost that game. But I was like keeping the Jax off of y'all because every time he kind of counter strike this, I just use Alistair to push him away, and then
Yeah.
he can do shit.
Yeah. His
Um,
whole combo is messed up. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So once I figured that out, I don't think Jax is a big deal anymore. Honestly.
Yeah, I think other
Uh
people would say Nyla is a problem, and
you know what? I feel
I'm
like
enjoying the character a lot.
I don't see that character that much. So
Yeah,
besides when you play it.
I know it's
But the
weird, man. Like she's super fucking good. I think ADC players are scared of the idea of playing basically a melee, like what amounts to a
yeah,
melee character.
that's exactly what it is. That's
But
exactly what it
dude,
is.
she's not that hard to play. Like that, the thing I think the thing people don't understand is like if people start going on you really hard, I mean, you just go after them. Like they can't get away from you. So, and they're probably not gonna beat you in a 2v2 if you're on the same page with your support.
Mhm.
She's got enough fucking mitigation built into her kit that she's strong. By the time she hits level 3, she's ready to go.
Yeah.
Like she's fully online at that point and can just go toe to toe with people. So I don't know. I don't have a huge problem with her. And honestly, her whip, her Q is so spammable that you can use that in place of auto attacks to get last hits.
Mm,
Which is
okay.
exactly what I do with her. And you can use that to get multiple last hits at the same time, and then it gives you a sweep to your auto attacks after that for like 2 seconds.
Mhm.
So you can use that as well to get multiple last hits at the same time. Like I don't have a problem with her at all. I don't know. I probably haven't played anybody though that knows how to shut her down in lane super well. But I feel like every game I've played with her, like I've come out of it like kind of dominating the lane, out of the laning phase. So
Yeah.
she does feel strong right now though, which they did nerf her. So we'll see how she feels after that.
Yeah. Because the only character I feel like is really bad on the bot lane is Samira, and I think Nyla is actually a direct counter to Samira because Samira wants to
Absolutely.
jump in on you, and do her spam shit.
Combo.
But
Yeah.
yeah, and I think Nyla shuts all that down. That's the only character that can really shut her down, Samira down, in my opinion. Though every other character, maybe besides Trish, I'm like when I'm supporting, like I get really scared because the other ADC sometimes doesn't know how to combat that person. And one ADC I feel like is really bad, and I see why. I look their charts up and they're like D+, even though everybody in the chat disagree, everybody in our group disagrees with me. I think Kate is a really bad character. I recommend
Caitlyn.
anybody. Yeah, Caitlyn's really bad.
Yeah.
I don't think she's good. Even when she comes online, she doesn't do enough damage. I, as a support, I see it now. Like when I'm like trying to help her out, she just does no fucking damage. And everybody's like, "Oh man, the headshot." No man, that she does nothing.
Yeah.
Um, and like no offense to our friends or whatever, but like I be helping them out a lot in fucking support. So it's like, yeah, your
No,
Kate's
you
doing really
do,
good.
bro.
Like
Dude, dude, it's so funny when you and I are playing like bottom together because most of the games you kind of just leave me like on my own and roam the map for like the whole game. I'm just by myself 1v2 and it's like, well, it's fine. It's okay. Like it's totally okay. Like I haven't had a huge issue with that yet, like where I've been getting wrecked or anything like that. So
I
it's
because
worked, but I
because
think
I
to your point,
normally
you're
try to
contributing
leave.
a lot to us winning because you're helping everybody else.
Yeah, I try to. So that's the problem. That's the funny thing about it, right? So a lot of people, you understand it. I think you just naturally get it, though. You don't. I don't really have to explain it to you,
Yeah.
but I explain it to other people. Like one key thing when I do as a support is I become the second. I treat my lane or my role as a secondary jungler. So I'm on. Soon as I see that Justin has frozen the wave under his tower, and he's like, "Okay, I can last hit under tower. They really can't get to me because the tower is essentially my teammate at this point."
Hmm. Hmm.
You play around the tower, and I'm like, all right, he's gonna play around the tower. He's gonna get hella fucking XP and hella gold. I'm not down there, so you're getting double the XP that they're getting right now
Which
because
that
they're
is very helpful, actually.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you're coming online way faster. And then when I recognize you need to back, then I'll come back and try to help you push the wave so you can back. Um, but yeah, that's how I play and I roam and everything of that nature. When I'm playing with like randos or maybe one of our other friends, I would tend to like stick by them a lot more. Unless I'm like backing, and once I back, then I roam and then I go to
Hmm.
the lane.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, when I play like with Kate players, uh, and it's just this champion in particular because I haven't ran into it with any other champion. Maybe Ash because she doesn't do a lot of damage up front, but her
Mm.
slow really helps a lot. I don't feel like Kate has the tools to like do shit. Like all her shit is around the headshot thing and her traps.
Yeah.
And if they don't know how to place their traps properly, they don't know how to poke properly. A lot of people in low elo don't know how to take advantage of Kate's range, so they don't poke properly. They just last hit. When it's like when I'm playing with the Kate, I'm like, we have to be aggressive. No matter if I am a melee support, I would love for you to freeze away, but I understand you're a poke, so you're gonna poke, and that's what you need to do. But they don't do that. They play around me, and I'm like, okay, so this is not going to work out. Like I need you to do stuff.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
when the other characters do like when I do get into a position to do stuff, or I see like a opening. Uh, I don't know. She just doesn't do enough damage. Like all her damage is on the headshot mechanic, and
Yeah.
I don't think that's very viable unless you. Literally have to time my all ins around her fifth shot. And then I'll have to rely on her or the character or the person playing her rather to understand, okay, on my fifth shot, we're gonna go all in and we're gonna do a really simple trade or whatever. And it's different from Jin because I feel like Jin, I can time it better because he has an animation. Everything around Jin's kit is like, hey, I'm about to do this really powerful fourth shot. So the player
Yeah.
inherently understands, okay, maybe I need to trade on my fourth shot. Everybody understands that actually. Whereas with Kate, it's like a little symbol above her head, and it's like, oh,
Yeah, it's
one, two,
not as
three, four.
obvious when you have the
Yeah,
headshot up. It's a buff.
exactly.
Like you have to look at your buff bar to notice you have it.
Exactly.
And yeah, it's not like with Jin where it's like the four pips, and the
Yeah.
last one's like really big and purple. It's obvious that you're on your fourth shot.
He's
They
spinning his
probably
fucking
need to
gun
do
around
something
and shit.
similar with Kate. I feel like because yeah, because even for myself when I play the character, I do notice sometimes that I waste the headshots because
Mhm.
I'm like, oh fuck, that was a headshot, and it can be a little difficult at times. Like Kate has a combo that you want to use on people, and it's kind of like you want to get them in a trap,
Yep.
and then you hit your dive back, and you're hopefully you're going into this with a headshot, and you hit your dive back, which lets you shoot them from a large distance, and then you shoot your Q at them because they're slowed or rooted rather, and then hopefully if you have your ult at this point, your ult should finish them off. But it's like it's kind of hard to pull off. It's a lot of things you have to coordinate all at once.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's honestly a support can kind of fuck it up too, depending on who the support is.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like if you're playing Alistar, for instance, if you like push them back out of out of one of those, like it fucks the whole combo up.
Yeah.
And Kate won't get the kill. So she's not a I don't know. I haven't played her since we've come back. And I don't really have a huge desire to either. I never really thought she was like super fun or anything, but um I don't think she's a bad character, but I gotta see what her numbers feel like right now, probably. And
Yeah, I don't think she's a bad character. I think the way people play her is making her bad.
Well,
If
they
that
use
makes
the
any sense.
range to guarantee last hits rather than poke, like you're saying,
Yeah,
because you can be very safe with her because of her range. So you don't necessarily have to be aggressive and close to the wave.
exactly. Yeah,
But that's not really. I don't. It's like not. You're not gonna win a scaling match against most other ADCs as Kate.
yeah.
She's
She
never
doesn't.
been a scaler.
Yeah, she doesn't scale too well at all, in my opinion. I don't know when I do get a Kate, and they usually pick Kate after I pick my support. If I do have a Kate player that picks Kate before me or whatever, I would usually try to match her and pick another poke support, so like a Xerath or Senna or something of that nature.
Yeah, and I just
Because
play Varus.
yeah,
Yeah, and I'll just
so
match her poke with mine.
yeah, so um, she really doesn't do too well, in my opinion, with like melee supports. Except for maybe like Nautilus, but like anybody that like displaces people, she really doesn't do too well, like you said. So I try to play her with like more poke
Locks or something,
yeah,
or
like
Leona maybe.
Morgana's, yeah, Leona, Morgana,
Yeah.
something of that nature. But yeah, I mean, besides that, I really haven't had any complaints. I think the game is a lot. I think the norms, matchmaking. I don't know what they did to the matchmaking. It's way better. Um, I don't know. I haven't touched rank, and I have no desire to touch rank. I only touched rank with my friend, and we did 3 games, and that was it. So, besides that, I'm enjoying norms, and I think for the foreseeable future, I would just be playing norms. Like I just enjoy that so much
Hmm.
because it's stress free. If you lose the game, you can jump right back into another game. You don't have to worry about LP or anything like that, or losing your little, you know, silver
Yeah.
symbol or gold symbol or anything like that. So, I don't know. I just enjoy it. So that's it for my league
All
rant.
right, fair enough. Let's jump into the news here. So the one thing we're gonna cover this week is BlizzCon and all the stuff kind of coming out of Blizzard this week. So BlizzCon happened last weekend. And there were a number of announcements. So we're gonna go through those here real quick, and then kind of there was an appearance from Phil Spencer and some stuff coming out about how Microsoft is going to manage Blizzard going forward. So we'll talk about that here as well. So in terms of announcements, the biggest thing that come out of this was an expansion for Diablo 4 called Vessel of Hatred. It was announced and it should be coming. They said late next year, basically. So we're not going to be waiting that long for Diablo 4's first expansion. I mean, Montrell, how do you feel about this? I know neither of us were like super into Diablo 4, but I have heard the game has turned around a little bit in the months we have been gone, and it's gotten me a little bit more intrigued to maybe go back and try it out again. But
I will wait for you to play it. And if you say it's worth, I mean, I have the game and it's not going anywhere.
mhm.
Unfortunately, I downloaded the game,
Right, we can't
so
refund it. We can't
you can't
refund it.
refund it. Yeah, so um, yeah, if you say it's worth going back to, then I'll go back to it.
Mhm.
I don't know. I just didn't really like the scaling feature. I know that's probably not going to go away, but they made it more manageable.
Yeah.
Um, then I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, well, this expansion is going to have a new region called Nahantu, and then there will be a new class that's never been in the Diablo franchise before. So I'm kind of curious what that's going to be potentially, and then there will be more on Mephisto, which was the kind of the hanging thread from the base game with the
Hmm.
with the end of the story. So there will be more with that there. I'm not. I'm going to be honest. Yeah, I may go back to the game soon over the holidays and give it another shot. I've heard they reduced the EXP grind by about 40% required to get to a level 100, which is significant. And people are saying it feels so much better to play and level up and make characters in the game right now. So
Okay.
I may give it a shot for that reason, since it's so much quicker. It'll give me more, like it'll take less time for me to evaluate kind of where the game is and get a little bit further with it than I did originally. So I am a little interested in that for sure, but new expansion. I mean, if you're into Diablo 4, this is exciting. If you're not, then this doesn't really mean much to you. I don't know how much this is really going to pull new players in to this game at this point. But all right. So after that, they announced in a very Marvel-esque way 3 new expansions coming to World of Warcraft, and they're calling this the World Soul Saga, basically like kind of like a trilogy within the World of Warcraft universe. So these 3 expansions are going to be coming about a year apart, they're saying, and they will be um, they will be tied to each other story wise. So there will be a larger narrative that all three are following. Essentially, I will say the next one they showed, which is the first one, they're calling the War Within, and it is going to take place in the subterranean kingdoms of Azeroth, where the Nerubians and an allied race called the Earthen Dwarves await. So that concept, like an underground expansion, actually does intrigue me a lot. I haven't played retail though since Shadowlands, and that was a fucking disaster. So I don't really think I'm going to go back and check this out. But our friend Andy always continues to try and get us all into retail again. So I'm sure he'll try. He does say that Dragonflight is the best the game's ever been in a long time, and a lot of people agree with that. But I don't know. I can't trust Blizzard with this game.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Personally.
give it. I'm actually gonna give it a shot. I don't know. The trailer looked really cool to me, but I also don't know anything about Blizzard or I'm sorry, World of Warcraft lore outside of like the bits I played in Warcraft 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
After that, I did play, even though I did play Burning Crusade and original WoW, I stopped playing at Lynch King. I played a little bit of Lynch King and then I was done
Mm-hmm.
with it. So I don't know what else happened between Cataclysm and today. I have no idea what the hell happened in the story.
All right, let me try to summarize this. So there was a they went back and they went to Panda Land. That was Pandaria.
I remember Pandaria.
And then they went back in time
Wait, they went back in time?
and fought the orc warlords from Warcraft 2 again. And then they came back to the present, and then they went to what was after? Oh yeah, that's right. The Burning Legion invaded again. This is very like Disney ride type thing. I feel like what I'm explaining here. And then after the Legion attacked, they went to what was the name of it was a Battle for Azeroth, where they went
Yeah.
very very like orcs versus humans, horde versus alliance storyline. Everybody apparently hated that, which is funny because I remember playing through the story. I was kind of into it, actually, weirdly enough, because I played that before Shadowlands came out, like right before Shadowlands came out, and I was catching up on it. I was like, oh, this is kind of interesting. Is bringing some old characters back and stuff, and like, but yeah, I never finished it. So, but then they went to Shadowlands, which was like the fate of the entire universe was at stake. So World of Warcraft's been all over the place, man. The story makes no fucking sense at this point, which is my problem with it. Like, because a big part of what I find appealing in Warcraft is actually the lore and the original, first three games. I found them to be very compelling from a story standpoint, and they've just kind of thrown it all out the window with World of Warcraft over time. So without some major reset of some sort, I just don't foresee myself caring that much about this. So
Yeah, and that's what I think they should do. I think they should just do a major reboot of the franchise and like continue. You can either continue doing the RTS style storytelling and then have a separate one for the actual online World of Warcraft. And like after we did this whole Cataclysm event happened again and blew up everything, and now we have to restart everything. So I don't know. It's just a lot to follow.
yeah.
But I do want to get back into World of Warcraft. I don't know why I want to get back into it, but I do have an itching for it. I don't want to play classic. I don't want to play like super
Man,
hardcore.
you don't want to play hardcore? Come on, bro.
Man.
What? Why? Come on, man.
Just the idea of me dying randomly to something, because I die randomly all the time in MMOs. That would fucking
But
piss me off.
embrace the chaos of it. That's obviously it's gonna suck to play a character and get it to level 40 and it dies, and it's just dead forever. That's gonna obviously suck. But at the same time, it's just chaotic. I don't know. It adds stakes to everything you do. In a way, like just traveling from one zone to another suddenly becomes like this harrowing fucking thing.
Yeah.
That because they're early in when you're playing World of Warcraft Classic, there's certain races that you have shitty starting zones. Night elves being a perfect example, where
Yes.
you would always run. You'd make a night elf and you would run to the dwarven zones or the human zones, and you would level in those instead. And but that doing that run at level 1 was horrifying, because you're running through level 30 zones and shit. So anything that aggroed on you was going to kill you in one hit. So suddenly you probably can't do that now, like that's not really feasible. So you got to play the game more legitimately, or not legitimately, but like as kind of intended, I guess. As a result. So it's just interesting little wrinkles like that, suddenly travel becomes
I can
like
I can
actually
give it a shot.
dangerous.
I can give it a shot, but I don't want to do classic. I want to do like, can we do like Burning Crusade or something like
Well, I
that?
don't think they have hardcore. They only have hardcore classic.
Oh,
So
okay, okay,
yeah,
that
and
makes
Burning
sense.
Crusade, I don't think they have any servers for Burning Crusade anymore. It's Lich King right now, and it's actually about to be Cataclysm, which is the next announcement, which is coming
Mm,
on November 30th. They're adding Cataclysm to World of Warcraft Classic, which is interesting because Cataclysm. I always wondered if they were really going to do this with Classic because Cataclysm is where it all started to go wrong.
yeah, yeah,
um
yeah,
that was where World of Warcraft really started to lose its steam, because the game peaked in Wrath and in terms of player count for sure. And a lot of people would say in terms of gameplay as well, it peaked in Wrath. But Cataclysm's where they kind of made the game really hard. It's from what I understand, like certain things in raiding were like really difficult. And tanking was like a fucking nightmare in Cataclysm, which made a lot of people quit the game. But it sounds like they're going to make some changes to some of that stuff. They're not going to keep things the way they were, so that which is smart, I think. There's no point in retreading ground that everybody already hated back in the day.
yeah,
So that kind of makes sense as well. So yeah, I don't know.
yeah.
Cataclysm, any interest?
Uh, if they change some things, yeah, I can get. I really didn't have a problem with Cataclysm, to be honest with you. I just stopped playing,
Yeah,
and I,
dude, it was just the beginning of this bullshit with the lore where they ran out of ideas, because
yeah,
they brought back Deathwing and Deathwing created the like cause of the cataclysm and destroyed the land or whatever. And it's like Deathwing was like a character that died in Warcraft 2, It's like what are we doing here, man? It's
yeah.
like
I
we're
just didn't.
already at the point where we have to rehash characters, like I
Yeah,
don't know.
I don't think I like that because I remember I memorized all the areas, and then they changed the landscape drastically,
Oh
actually.
yeah. Yep.
And I didn't like that, and it was one of those things where it's like I just didn't like the change, and like if you were a new player coming in or like sort of new, like it was okay, it was cool for you, but like for me, like I've been playing Warcraft since whatever forever, so I was just like, maybe this is where I end my ride, and I think around that same time, because when did Cataclysm come out? 2014, 2013, maybe
2012,
2012. I
I want to
think
say.
around that time, Final Fantasy 14 was like almost about to be
That was
released.
when, yeah, it was Rome Reborn came out in 2012.
Yeah, and I started playing Realm Reborn. I was like, oh wow, this is my game right here. So, uh, yeah, I was very excited for that.
All right. Well, after that, we got a couple Overwatch 2 announcements. Their next hero is named Mauga, the game's first Samoan hero.
Okay.
Uh, was announced, and then they announced another character. Trying to see Overrun. No, no, no. Sorry, no. There was another character announced. I don't know the name of it, but so yeah, if you're in Overwatch 2, more characters coming. A new Hearthstone expansion was announced, yada yada. We do this every year. Some kind of Western themed expansion. I'm sure they've run out of ideas for Hearthstone at this point. They announced a Diablo tabletop RPG that's going to be based
Which
on Diablo 4,
needs a
coming,
Kickstarter to start. I don't understand
which
why.
it's going to launch in fall 2024. I mean, all board games are Kickstarters at this point, but
Did he not have faith in the board games that
where are you
much?
seeing that it's going to be a Kickstarter though?
I thought I saw that. It said, oh, maybe it's okay.
Oh,
Maybe it's
wait, it will launch via a pre-order campaign on Kickstarter. You're correct.
yep.
Oh my god, man. No, it's so stupid, dude. Like a company like Blizzard can't fucking fund this
Well,
shit
even
on their
Apex,
own.
right?
Like give
You
me a
remember their
break.
tabletop? Respawn with Apex tabletop, they were doing the same thing.
Yeah, they're just taking advantage of a community that has responded to Kickstarter. There's no reason that a Diablo game should be on Kickstarter. But dude, there was a Monster Hunter game on Kickstarter. Borderlands had a game on Kickstarter. Fucking The Witcher, Bloodborne, Dark Souls. I mean, you fucking name it, dude. So, all right. After that, Phil Spencer made an appearance. he said some things. So it's not really that important. And then they had a Warcraft Rumble trailer for the mobile game. I guess that's how they ended it, which is bizarre. You think they would have learned their lesson with Immortal, but it doesn't sound like it was that big of a deal. People didn't care that much, but I believe that game's already out now too, Warcraft Rumble. So, if you want to check that out, it is out there on the App Store. So, the next thing I wanted to talk about though is rather the kind of Microsoft's planned handling of Blizzard going forward after the acquisition is complete. And there's been a lot of articles and interviews coming out from Mike Ibarra, the current president of Blizzard, and then Phil Spencer, some comments he's made as well. So it's sounding like, so Mike Ibarra said that Phil Spencer basically told him that he wants Blizzard to kind of run themselves going forward and look at themselves more of as an independent entity, and kind of make their own decisions about what they want to do going forward. And I think a lot of people are getting very excited about this, but
I'm not.
as always, I think the two of us on this show are going to caution everybody that Blizzard is not who they used to be. Okay, this idea that Activision came in here and ruined them, that might be true. However, that was nearly 20 years ago now, and they are who they are at this point. Like Blizzard has become whatever Activision may have turned them into, and I don't think this is going to magically turn them into something else.
Yeah.
I think you can expect very similar output from them. I think the monetization is not going to change. The way they monetize games is going to continue. I don't expect that to change at all for them. Mike Ibarra is even teasing ideas about like a new StarCraft game and shit like that. And I'm like, he's like, if somebody on one of the teams comes and pitches a StarCraft game that sounds awesome to me, and we have a team for it, we'll make that game. But it's like, okay, I mean, you're just getting people like hyped up for nothing. There's no project in the works. There's nothing coming. He doesn't plan on doing anything with it. He's basically relying on the creativity of his own teams to give us any hope at all. So I don't know. How do you feel about this, Montrell?
So yeah, I read the article and I don't know. I didn't like that Phil was like, "You guys are gonna run yourself." I really wanted Microsoft to come in there and say, "Hey, you guys have been running yourself, and now we need some new games." Particularly for Xbox or whatever. So yeah, I was hoping for like some kind of StarCraft first person shooter or some kind of StarCraft something, bro. Give me something. Um, Hell, even give me something with the fucking what's the other IP? The Vikings IP they have?
Lost Vikings.
Yeah, Lost Vikings. Like, give me something with that or something. Like, I don't fucking know, bro. Um, just give me something. And or give me a brand new IP or something of that nature. I just feel like I read a comment and somebody said like, but that Blizzard's like Bethesda at this point where they just run off their name and like existing IPs, and I'm like, yeah, that's pretty much it. But at least fucking Bethesda made another IP game. I mean, it's the same game, but I mean they did Starfield, whatever the fuck. Um, yeah, and I just want them to make shit, bro. And I understand like they're perfectionists because he even says in the article they want things to be perfect, and uh players have no patience. They want new stuff every
Yeah, but
day, every
what is
hour.
he even talking about at this point? This idea that Blizzard like polishes their games to like a heavy shit, like that's not even fucking true. Diablo 4 came out and there was by no means what I call that game perfect in any way. Like it had issues, it had bugs, it had fucking terrible balance. Like the game wasn't in a good state. There's no perfection there. I don't even know what he's talking about. It's like I don't know.
Yeah, and I I just don't know what to say. I put them in the same boat as Bungie and as they mentioned
Bethesda.
Bethesda, because they used to make really fun games. Even though Bethesda games weren't quality as far as like bugs and everything, they were still fun. They had good writing and everything of that nature. Now it's just like it's just a former shell of itself. It's not really good. Um, it's not for me. It's not for your core fan base. I don't even want to say your core fan base because they have a new core fan base now. Um, and that's who that Blizzard is for now. It's for people who love like retail WoW, even though I'm going to give it a chance myself. It's for people who love Overwatch. It, that's pretty pretty much it. And people who love Diablo 3, even though I did love Diablo 3. For those players who love Diablo 3 and the new Diablo 4 players that just got, hooked on it. So I think that's who Blizzard's for, but primarily for Overwatch. I think Overwatch is like closet their biggest IP. And that's why they continue to support it. That's why they continue to push it. It has very huge IP presence. I think people can pick out Overwatch in a lineup now, like a normal
Mhm.
person. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Like, yeah, and I don't feel like I made a meme about Blizzard and StarCraft, and like Vince McMahon was crying, but I was like, Dad, can you tell me about StarCraft? And then he starts crying like, no, I don't want to tell you about StarCraft because it doesn't exist. But like, yeah,
Yeah.
if I go to BlizzCon today, I'm pretty sure like the 24-year-old Blizzard fan, I tell them about fucking StarCraft. They're gonna be like, oh yeah, I remember that in the references that they have in fucking Overwatch, and I'm gonna kill myself because that's not, you
Mhm.
know, that's not it. So,
Yeah.
I really wanted, and I don't know why I expected this because this is Phil Spencer. Not to say like he doesn't have a backbone or anything like that. He's just too nice, and I feel like if they did come in and try to shake shit up, people will. It was like damn if you do, damn if you don't situation, right? Because you do come and shake shit up, you're gonna piss off one fan base and like, see, look at Microsoft always trying to change shit and buy up the whole industry and shit like that. And then you got the other fan base who are like us, who are like, you didn't do enough, bro. You just it's business as usual. Like nothing's gonna fucking change. You're just under new leadership now.
Mhm.
The
Yeah.
same old thing. So I mean, that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, and I mean, I do like Mike Ibarra. Like, I do think he's a good president for them right now. I
Mm-hmm.
think he is. I think he says the right things. Similar to Phil actually. But there's some things like in here where in this interview, this is from The Verge that we're reading. They mentioned in here, quote, he says the team wrestles with the idea of releasing a standalone game without live components. And then this is a quote from him: we want to serve players with more content in our universes. At the same time, we want to make sure we're responsible and meet their expectations. I think we're still fine tuning a lot of those things as we move forward, but it's something top of mind for me as we go forward. And then the interviewer says, I pushed him on that. It feels like it would be a big deal if Blizzard released a game that wasn't a live service, which I think that is certainly true at this point.
Yeah, exactly.
We're not afraid to create new IPs, he says. We're not afraid to turn models upside down. He says he looks for teams that come with an idea. That can be someone that has an idea for a 4-hour experience or a 400-hour experience. And for Blizzard, I'm open to all of those ideas. End quote. So, like, that's it's a nice way of saying that it's unlikely that they're going to make a non-live service game at this point.
I don't understand what I feel like. Warhammer is a really good example of how you can make a billion games out of an
Yeah.
IP and still become profitable. Like that franchise is super profitable, whether it's bad games, good games, whatever, because people still buy and love the IP of Warhammer 40K. So it's like, why can't we just, like, in my opinion, now Blizzard, StarCraft, and Warcraft, well, Warcraft in particular, is bigger than Warhammer. Like they can make a single player experience out of fucking a Warcraft game,
Yeah.
and people will eat it up.
Can you
Or even
imagine,
Overwatch.
Montreal, can you imagine like a 4X style Warcraft game or like a Total War style Warcraft game? Like how fucking awesome that would be. Like that would
I
be
would love
fucking
it.
sick. I would eat that up, dude. But no, I'm not going to get that game. No, I'm not going to get why? Cuz it's not profitable enough, bro. Like, and that's my point about Blizzard. Like, I think they are beyond saving. Like, I think they've been corrupted in that way. Like, I think every game they make has to be a hit in that sense of a live service game. I don't think they can make a game that just comes out and everybody plays it for a month and then that's it. Like, I
But
don't think Blizzard can make those games anymore. Like, I don't think they want to.
are the salaries and everything like that siphoning off that much profit to where you have to constantly make live service games? Why can't we be like Nintendo, who makes mobile games Dragalia Lost and everything of that nature, and then or Fire Emblem Hero or Fire
Forgot about
Emblem,
that game.
yeah, fucking Fire Emblem Heroes and everything of that nature, make buku money off those games, and then
Yeah,
put that
yeah,
into their development of making a new Fire Emblem game or whatever the case may be.
yeah,
And it's like, I don't understand why other companies can't do that. I don't mind your Diablo Immortals, your Warcraft Rumbles, your Warcraft World of Warcrafts, your live service shit. I don't mind that because I understand it. This is a business at the end of the day, and you need profit. I get it. But at the same time, why can't we put that money in there? Maybe you have a spare 20 million, all right, we can use this 20 million to make a 10-hour, Warcraft experience, or a 10-hour
yeah,
Starcraft experience, or even a 10-hour like fucking Overwatch experience. I would love an Overwatch single player game. Like, that would be fucking dope to explore the world a little bit more outside of like the arenas that we play and the comics that we get. I think that would be fucking dope.
yeah,
And I'm not even an Overwatch fan like that, but I think the world is interesting enough for that. And it's just insane to me that they don't, that even the players themselves, in my eyes, I don't see them demanding that enough. And maybe they do. I'm not in their circles like that. I know DJ certainly wants more from Overwatch, but it's like, I only have it through his lens, and even he doesn't play Overwatch anymore. So it's
yeah.
like, I don't know, you know.
No, I mean, dude, it's I like we've talked about Blizzard a lot on this podcast. I think it's the thing. I think it's the company we have covered the most in depth, probably on this in the history of the show. And we're both Blizzard fans, but Blizzard, I think for me is it like they are the reason I love games the way I do. Like there
Yeah,
is just something about old school Blizzard that was just so fucking special. And to watch them lose that over the course of 20 years has been so depressing, you know? And I'm not going to fall for this trap that Mike Ibarra and fucking Phil Spencer are trying to set right now that, like, we're going to get Blizzard back to their roots, back to what they do best, And it's like, what do you mean? Like, what does that even mean to you guys at this point? What
yeah.
they
Do
do
you
best? Like, what
what
is
what do,
that?
yeah, exactly. What is your version of the, because for me, StarCraft and Warcraft writing was like their best.
Yeah.
That was
Well,
peak
no,
Blizzard, bro.
dude, peak Blizzard for me was a company that made excellent single player games that happen to have excellent
Yeah,
multiplayer components at the same time. It wasn't
exactly.
multiplayer
Yeah,
first, And I think that's something they have lost. They lost that a long time ago, and they're not going to get that back. That's my point. This is like we're like literally this the person in this Verge article who wrote this article and was interviewing them like it sounds like a struggle, just the idea of not making a live service game. It's like, oh well, we think about it, we're not afraid to turn genres on their heads and turn concepts on their heads. And it's like okay, saying that's one thing, but okay, then do it. Like you've canceled all this other shit in the past, like this fucking StarCraft shooter that got canceled, and whatever this more recent one that got canceled a few years back that we talked about. Like
hmm
these things, they don't even see the light of day. And this survival game that they're working on, that for
I, for-
whatever reason people are
I
hyped about,
completely, I completely forgot about that shit.
that's going to be an online game. It's going to be an online game. Like there's no question about that in my mind. If it
Who
isn't, I
what's
will eat my words on this show, but I'm telling you guys right now, like I have no expectation that it will be anything other than an online live service game.
But that's the problem. Like, the survival game phase is past already. We already have Rust. We already have Ark. We already have
Right. And
other games.
they used to be a trendsetter. They are now a follower. Like
Yeah,
they don't come up with the ideas anymore. Like they used to be the company that drove the industry forward. Like they drove the industry forward. Like ARPGs wouldn't really exist the way they do today without Blizzard, without Diablo 2, and the RTS genre, like they pulled like RTSs were being made like crazy back then, but they were the one leading the genre forward and innovating in that space. And dude, they're the reason MOBAs exist. They're the reason they exist in the first place. Like Dota
exactly.
2 and fucking League wouldn't even exist without Blizzard. And it's like it's crazy. And then they spend their time chasing that trend because they didn't think about making that game. And then they make Heroes of the Storm and they sue Valve, and it's like, what are you guys doing? Like, you've lost the plot of like what's important here, and it's so fucking frustrating. So no, I don't have any belief that Phil Spencer and Mike Ibarra here are gonna make some drastic change with Blizzard and they're suddenly gonna become the company I used to love. Like fuck no, that company's so long gone. It's not even funny, man. Like
Yeah,
I don't know. And if it is going to happen, it's going to take a decade, for that change to start happening realistically. So I will watch, I will pay attention. I might play some of their games like I did with D4. But I'm not sold on anything,
yeah.
because even
Unfortunately,
D4, that game, like we both agreed, like we didn't feel like it was a good game, and the industry has kind of accepted that it is. And I just don't think that, like, I like it wasn't good at launch. I'm sorry. Like you can't tell me that it was. So
I I think that's where I'm at with this whole Blizzard situation in general, especially with D4. It made me realize I think that was the game. I've said it on the podcast before, but like D4 really made me realize that games aren't made for me anymore. They aren't made for my type
yeah,
of
yeah,
people. Um, like I said, like no offense to like the gotcha culture and everything like that, and games now are just made for profit. I tweeted out, today, like, or yesterday, maybe, I don't know, that people like newer players, like players younger than us, like I know you're into gotcha games, but like players into younger than us are like hyped at pools. They will screenshot, screen record, put
oh,
game clips up of
yeah.
their pools, and they're like, "Oh my god, I can't believe I got this fucking pool, bro! Oh my
It's
fucking
mental
god!"
illness, Montrell. Like
And, and
there's nothing else to say. It's mental illness, bro.
yeah, I mean, I don't, and I'm like, is this what gaming has become? Like, this is like even without the gotcha mechanics, like when people play 2K, like they don't play just because they want to get their my player. They play because they gotta buy VC points. Like it's a joke now on like Instagram reels and everything and YouTube little shorts and stuff like that. Like, oh, I gotta get my wife to buy me some VC points so I can up my character. And I'm like, why don't you just play the game and get VC points? It's not viable anymore. And it's like, I'm like, is this what gaming has become? Like this slot machine of like money? Like, is that what everybody wants? And it's like, where's the artistic integrity in the game? Like, we argued forever, for years, that video games are art. We finally got that mantle, and then people just turn it into a fucking money bag. And I'm just like, where is the art in these video games?
Hmm.
Like, all we're getting right now is remakes and all that bullshit. Like, and it's like, yeah, I guess that's cool, but like, where's the new shit, or where's the continuation of shit that we are existing having? And this Blizzard article kind of like solidified it for me. And I mean, I was just like, yeah, this isn't. I'm not gonna get it. I don't know. I watched BlizzCon as well. I saw people hyping the crowd, cosplaying. Love it. I'm glad that's y'all's passion. But for me, like, I just can't bring myself to give a fuck about it anymore. So it is what it is.
Yeah, fair enough. And just one follow up on the one thing you mentioned. So Dragalia Lost. Yes, this was a gotcha game that came out in 2018. It's been shut down for a year.
Yeah, I remember we reported on that. I remember
It had a
that.
four. No, I don't think we did. I remember this game when it came out, though. I was like really in my gotcha phase at this point in time. And I played this game for like a hot minute, like a month or two when it came out. And man, the idea that it's gone now, like you can't play it, it's been gone for a year is crazy. And that's the whole point about all these gotcha games and shit, like even live service in general, is that this shit is a scam, guys. Like it will be gone eventually. You know,
Yeah.
all those skins in Apex you buy, all those skins in fucking League of Legends that you buy, they will probably be gone someday. Like you will lose them,
Yeah.
and you will have spent hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars on this shit, and you won't be able to access it in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, the day
So
League dies would be a sad day, or maybe a good
yeah,
day.
I don't think that's gonna happen. That one's probably a bad example. Like League's probably gonna be around in some capacity, probably all for the entirety of our lives, unless Riot does something really fucked up. But like I don't imagine, like there may be a League 2 someday, but I would imagine they would bring skins over somehow, with
Yeah,
that
yeah,
in some form. So, but like Apex for sure, dude. Like Apex Legends, there will be a day where you won't be able to play that game, and your
yeah.
skin, all the money you put in, worthless.
Yep, exactly.
So
Well, they already do it with like live. I mean, not live, but 2K. I mean, 2K22, I think, is unplayable now. Like you can only play offline, and your my player is
Oh
like,
yeah, that's right. Yeah, we reported on that. Yeah,
yep. So I
which
don't
is
know.
crazy. It's not even been out. It's been out like 2 years. It's fucking insane. All right. Well, Charlie, let's move on. So we're done with news, but we wanted to talk about Spider-Man 2. So I finally beat this game. I platinumed it yesterday.
Oh, nice.
And so I'm fully complete. I've already deleted it off my console, so I'm done with this game. But um, yeah. So did you ever go back around and get the platinum or no?
I deleted off my console too.
Oh no! It doesn't take that long, bro. Like, how much did you have left?
I had 2 trophies left.
What trophies were they? What could like were they the ones where you needed to do like the glide from like Financial District to Astoria?
No, I don't remember. I think I just had to do some more of the pods and stuff like that, like the Venom pods and all that shit like that. And I just didn't feel like doing it. I really wanted, yeah, I just wanted to play other stuff. So
okay, well, fair enough.
yeah.
All right, well, you played enough of the game to render an opinion in a spoiler cast. So
yeah,
all right, so yeah, I mean, Montrell, now that you're done with the game, I mean, you've been done with it for a few weeks now. How, I guess, overall thoughts? Like, how'd you feel about the game overall?
I think it was very enjoyable. It's a very addictive game. I think the gameplay loop has been perfected. I will say if I pick up the game again, I will play it for hours without even realizing it because I think the gameplay loop is just so good. I like the fact that I can swing around as Spider-Man. I mean, the same shit, swing around as Spider-Man, save the day, interact with the citizens. I don't know. This game makes you feel like you're Spider-Man. Just like my overall thoughts and everything like that. The story in Spider-Man 2 was kind of all over the place. Um, there were certain places I thought they were gonna go with it that they didn't go with it. Like with Felicia, for instance, where she had the little trinket that made her teleport. Like you get that one mission with her, and then she's gone, and I'm just like, okay, yeah. I guess that's it. Like
there's a lot of that in the game.
Yeah, the villains, all the villains are dead, or majority of the Sinister Six is dead now, and I'm just like, I actually like though that the villains in this universe, particularly Tombstone and Mysterio, or Mysterio, they were actually trying to turn their lives around. Like I like that shit. I like when people, like,
it is cool.
Yeah, I like that Spider-Man actually like saw that. It was like, oh fuck, like wow, these guys actually tried to do something with their lives or whatever the case may be. And then even for Mysterio, it's like if you finish his whole quest line, people took advantage of that. Yeah.
Dude, they fucking kidnapped him and threw him in a closet. They tried to pin the entire crime spree on him. Oh my god, it's fucking crazy.
I was like, that's crazy that people tried to take advantage of what he once was. And it was so, he felt so disheartened by the end that I felt like maybe he's gonna come back with some crazy shit next time or whatever. But I don't know. I don't know. Besides that, man, I really actually enjoyed I enjoyed Peter's story a lot. I was thinking about it. For me, Miles' story, it was more of a side story. And I actually like
this is funny. Okay.
Yeah, for me, Miles' story was like he didn't have too much is it urgency or agency?
Agency. Well,
maybe it's agency. I don't know.
I guess more relevance is what you're trying to say.
Yeah, he didn't have more relevant. He was dealing with like teenage shit and like stuff around the neighborhood and everything like that. And I actually like that. Like that was his focus. Like
he's trying to write his college essay for like half the game,
Yeah, exactly. I like that he was like trying to be a teenager and everything like that. And I felt like at the end of the game, in my opinion, Peter giving him the mantle, like the official mantle, even though he is Spider-Man, don't kill me, guys. But Peter like saying like, hey, you're going to be taking over all this shit soon. And I'm about to take a step back. I felt like, bro, you're just like, you're taking away his like teenhood or whatever the fuck, like his career path. Like, what if he wants to leave and go to
Oh
like
god.
San Francisco or something
Yeah,
like that?
you're
You know what
right. You're right.
like, you can't
Yeah.
just be like, bro, you're Spider-Man now. You got to protect the city. And it's like, bro, I want to go to fucking whatever and I want to study this and
But
I want to do physics and that. I want to go down to Florida or
yeah.
whatever and
Yeah.
be NASA or whatever. Like, it's
Yeah.
and
Well,
I
you're getting into
understand.
something. You're getting into something the game doesn't really get into. That it
Yeah, yeah.
disappoints me at the end of the day for sure.
Yeah, yeah, and that's my thing. But like,
Because
I
yeah,
do like how Miles is handed the mantle, and I do also like that everyone's calling him Spider Man and everything of that nature. I just like how everything was handled overall. Um, Peter's story, on the other hand, like I do like it, and I understand Peter had his own shit going on. It was just certain parts of the story, and I think it was meant for that, and that's why I like it. So when I
mhm,
say I don't like it, I do like it, if that makes any sense going forward, y'all. I didn't like how Peter was treating Miles, but I did like it because it was like it's getting me invested into the story. But like throughout like the middle part of the story, especially when Harry was getting like better and stuff with Venom and
yeah,
everything of that nature. Um, I was just like, man, like he's really putting, and I understand like that's your best friend or whatever. That's like me and you doing this podcast or whatever, right? And then like my longtime friend DJ, obviously,
yeah.
DJ comes along and I'm just like, yeah, Justin, that's cool. I am going to do the podcast with you, bro, but I got another podcast to do with DJ and I love it. So I'm going to do it with him.
Oh,
And you know what I'm saying? Like, and that's kind
that's
of
a
how I
funny
felt.
analogy because
I
that's
mean,
kind of what happens. Yeah. Like Harry shows up and Peter's like, "What, Miles? Who are you, dude? I don't have time for your kid. Like, go do your own thing."
yeah, so it's like it was kind of like it sucked hard, and I felt like I was like, man, this is like really hitting me because I'm like I shouldn't be this attached to these characters like this, but I am because like yeah, he was like Miles was like, hey man, I'm trying to come help, and Peter's like, oh yeah, that's cool, bye, and it's like it's like bro, what?
No, there's
Uh,
multiple moments in the game where Miles and Peter both do it, where they're talking to somebody and they get a call from someone else and they're like, "Oh, sorry, I don't have time right now. Someone's calling me. I gotta go by." And they get the call from the other person and it's like 2 seconds, and then they could have just called the first person back,
yeah,
but they
exactly.
don't. Like they're just being a holes, like for no reason. Like, but no, what you're getting at here, I think is kind of my crux at the game. So overall, I like the game a lot. Like I think the game is great. I think it's as good or better than both the other games, but in certain ways. But I will say the thing with Peter in this game is I don't think he's a likable character in most parts of the game. Like
I think that's on purpose.
even
I,
outside of the Venom part where he's like, infected by the symbiote. Because
mhm.
like you're saying, even before that, he's not being responsible. He's like ignoring Miles. He's not really taking care of MJ. He's just like he gets obsessed with Harry once Harry shows up back in his life, and he's like, just running around with him and letting him help him with superhero shit when
Yes, bro.
like that is
What?
insanely irresponsible of him to do. Um it kind of directly leads to the later part of the game in some ways, and I don't feel like I don't think he's just not he's not like a nice character in the game. Like I feel like a lot of his actions are selfish, which is interesting, talking about Peter Parker, because that's not traditionally how he is, I guess, a lot of the
No.
time. But I mean, maybe I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't read the comics, so
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm speaking from my experience with the movies, I guess,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. I gotcha.
what I know Peter to be in those instances. But yeah, like he's kind of a selfish character for most of the game, and it takes till very late for him to really like rectify a lot of the things he did wrong throughout the game. And that includes some of the treatment with Miles and stuff. And I agree with you in the sense that like Peter is the main character of this game for sure, but and Miles is definitely like his whole part of the game is kind of the side story for sure. But I will say at the same time, I like Miles a lot more as a character,
Yes.
and he
Yeah.
has a
One hundred
couple
percent.
very important moments in the plot where he kind of saves everything, right? Like the point where he fights Peter in the symbiote suit and helps him rip it off, like convinces him to fucking like, breaks him out of this stupor he's in with the symbiote, and he actually rips the suit off finally.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of the most important moment in the game, for me, and that was Miles doing that. Like if he wasn't there, it wouldn't have happened. Peters would have become Venom. Peter would have become Venom, and it would all hell would have broken loose. Basically, and Harry would have just died, and that would have been the end of it. It would have been horrible. Like so. So Miles is a very important character within the plot, and even when they're fighting Venom later on, like he's solo fighting Venom at certain points. When Peter's like knocked out or incapacitated for some reason. So it's not like Miles isn't an important character in the plot, but I know what you mean that like, yeah, they did kind of relegate him to a side role. I will
Well,
say, yeah, go ahead.
maybe I miss. Maybe I was not articulating my point well. I think this game, Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man Peter Parker was Peter Parker, and Miles was Spider-Man. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. Okay.
I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
I think they did that on purpose. I think that's the reason why we didn't like him, or as much, was because Peter Parker had to be Peter Parker this time. And now we get to see Peter Parker for what he truly is. And he's just a regular human guy. He's just a regular guy going through life. Just lost his fucking his auntie and everything of that nature and everything of that nature. Um, and he didn't have time to be Spider-Man. He didn't have time to be the person that we know him to be.
Yeah.
Miles had to be that person. Miles had to take on his number one villain and everything of that nature. And it was a very, like you said, like it was Miles was a side character, but Miles also was. They also established that this is a Miles Morales Spider-Man. Like he's becoming who Peter was in 2018. If
Yeah.
that makes any sense.
Yes. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, for sure. And yeah, so I mean, I kind of want to go through the major components of the game though, and talk through those. So let's start with the villains. Like, how do you feel about all the villains in the game and how they were handled?
Um, I will say I am very disappointed how Craven died.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
I disagree. I love that. That was my favorite part of the game, actually.
really. I
When
mean,
when you're controlling Venom and running out of
no,
the fucking Oscorp
I,
building and you fight Craven as Venom I thought
I
was sick.
I do love that. I do love me controlling Venom. I thought the whole segment was really fucking cool.
Yeah.
And I thought it was actually really awesome that Insomniac went there with the Spider-Man game. I mean, we never really seen a Venom Spider-Man game this violent. And
Yeah.
they're just like,
Yeah.
and they just bit his head off. And I was like, yo, that's dope. But I really wanted Spider-Man to do it. I wanted Miles Morales or Spider-Man to do it. I really wanted like Venom Spider-Man to do it. To just kill him.
I thought he was. I like that moment right before Miles shows up and like pushes him out of the way. He was about to do it, man.
Yeah.
Like, and I thought they were gonna go over there. I was like, oh my god, are they gonna do this? Like, Peter can't come back from this if he actually does.
Yeah,
this,
and that's why I thought
like,
they were gonna do that. I really
yeah,
thought they were
man.
gonna do it.
I know, like have him do something like actually unforgivable.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
no,
that like changes his whole position as being Spider-Man.
I see what you mean. I guess in the absence of them doing that, I love the way Craven went out against Venom. I like the idea that Venom just shows up and he takes over the story as the main villain and he kills the prior main villain in a 1v1 fight. Like I think that's fucking awesome. But
I do like that though. So like I do like how I thought Craven, they hyped up Craven to be the main villain, and then this other villain becomes the alpha villain, and like he's just that person now. And I really do like that. I like how he took over Harry's body and all this other stuff like that. I do. I mean, I understand there are tons of villains that the Spider-Man can pull from. But I do actually. I know a lot of people complain about this, and I complained about it too. But thinking it over, I do like how Craven just came in and start cleaning the block off.
bro,
Like,
I love the villain versus villain stuff. Like it's the best part of these comic book stories to me is when the villains start going at each other.
Yeah, and I actually love that he just like straight up killed them. And
well,
Spider-Man
that's the only time you get to see them be really a villain too, where they like actually kill. Generally is when they're going against each other because the hero always has to stop them from killing. Generally, so you can't do it against civilians. It's like it's otherwise the hero's failing in their duty, and you can't do it against the hero, obviously, because the hero needs to be there present in the story. So it's like the only time you get to see villains actually kill in these stories generally is when they're going against each other. And I don't know, I love that shit.
Yeah, so I actually like that. Like, even though the villains are hating on Spider-Man. Spider-Man had to save the villains from themselves. And Craven was just like this big bad boogeyman. Like even at the beginning, Sandman was just like going crazy because he's like, this guy is coming after me, and I don't know what to do. I'm about to go crazy, and they had to help him through that, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just really like the idea that Craven was like this super really bad. I actually, you know what? One thing I didn't like, I think that's what it was. I didn't like his motivations for doing everything. Cancer, bro, really? Like,
Oh,
I mean,
true.
like,
True. Yeah.
okay, don't get
True.
me wrong, yo. I'm
Yeah.
sympathetic to cancer and everything of that nature. My grandmother died from cancer and everything, so I'm not saying that's not a huge life changing thing, but it was just like for a video game villain to be like, man, this is it for me. I don't know. Maybe it was just like a staunch reality that nothing can beat this this fucking disease that was kind of morbid. I don't know. Like he's
Yeah.
doing all this because he's dying from a sickness. I think it was cancer he was dying from.
Yeah, it was. And he got what he wanted in the end, too. You know,
Yeah, that's true.
he got killed by something greater than him, certainly.
I
And,
think he should die by Mary Jane. That would have been hella funny.
oh my God. Oh Jesus! Well, so I mean, do you want to go there next? Or are there any other villains you want to talk about? I mean, I love
uh,
I don't know, I like the early part of the game where he's just off in villains, and I think it was
yeah.
Miles gets into his base and he's like, oh my God, he killed Vulture, fucking Scorpion, he killed Shocker, like holy
Yeah.
shit, dude, how many did he kill? And he's like talking shit about all of them too. You get the recordings where he's like, this one was not worthy, and it's like, I'm like, Jesus Christ, dude.
Yeah, I actually like is his name Mr. Negative? Yeah, that's his
Yes.
name. Yeah, I
Martin Lee.
actually
Yeah.
yeah, Morton Lee. I actually like him a lot. I like that character. I like him in Miles's
Yeah, I
and
liked his journey in the game. Yeah.
I also like how they didn't do this fucking Naruto shit. Like he didn't do talk no jitsu with Miles didn't do talk no jitsu with Martin Lee. He was just like, I'm not your friend. I'm gonna forgive you though. But I'm gonna let you know I'm not your fucking friend. And I probably won't ever forget what you did. He got past what he had to get past. Like Naruto tried to make friends out of everybody, right? Like that's what you usually see in like these kind of like stories. They're like, oh, I
Yeah.
can get past it, and you're my friend. And it's like, no, bro, you actually killed my father. Like
Yeah.
your actions caused my father to die. And I had to work through that. And you read my mind and you saw that I had to work through that. I worked through that every day. And I had to work with you and I had to save you. That's fucking crazy to me. But in order for me to get past this situation and to get past everything else, I will, you know, let go of this situation. And he let go of it. And I thought that was like super mature for like Miles. He's like fucking
Well,
17.
I
Like,
think that's why I like Miles, dude. Like, because Peter says it late in the game when Martin Lee gives him the new negative Venom power suit or whatever,
yeah.
and he's like, man, you reformed your arch enemy, Miles. Like, I can't even say I've done that before, like that, And I think that's kind of Miles, though. Like he
Yeah.
is, like I didn't. I think that's what I didn't like early in the game is they were kind of putting Miles in a position where he was going to start like he almost let a bunch of people die early in the game because he wanted to fight Lee, and I didn't like that. Like
I didn't either.
I just
I
don't
thought
like.
that
I don't
was
feel like
very
that's
out of
who he
character.
is. I don't feel like that's who
Yeah.
he is. And I'm glad they got there in the end where he made the right decision because he had the opportunity to kill Lee in that pit.
Yep.
When they were fighting 1v1, and he didn't do it. He saved him and threw him out of the thing and continued to fight afterwards, which is fucking crazy. He's literally getting attacked by 30 guys after he gets Lee out of there. It's like
Exactly.
but no, so I like that they got there in the end because I wasn't liking that story at the beginning of the game. I'm like, dude, this isn't Miles, man. Like this
Exactly.
is
Yeah.
like
I didn't like that either. I didn't like that either, man.
yeah. So I don't know. I like overall. I mean, what about Venom though? Like, how'd you feel about Venom? Like, did you feel like he had enough time?
Actually, yes. I'm. I saw him at because, in my opinion, his character development was like kind of in the background, but there in your face. Especially if you already know who Venom is. Since I already know what Venom is and what the symbiote does to people, it was interesting to see like the progression from Harry to Peter, and then from Peter back to Harry, and then actually turn into a full blown Venom.
Yeah.
I thought that was actually cool that they brought some concepts back from the older comics. How he had his 5 versions of himself. Um, uh, yeah, I thought it was overall cool. I thought we were gonna get Carnage for a minute.
They
I'm actually,
teased that. Did you finish
yeah.
the Flame
No, I
Soldiers?
didn't. I gotta finish that one.
Yeah. So,
That's
oh, okay.
Yeah, I gotta
Do you
finish
want me to
that one.
spoil it?
Spoil it. You can spoil it for me though. I don't
Okay,
really
so yeah,
care.
at the end of that mission, you stop them from blowing up like a huge amount of chemicals in like a neighborhood or whatever. But the guy who's the Flame or whatever, I forget his fucking name, but the whole point of it was to steal a symbiote that was being transported on one of the trains that you stop. So he
Mm,
gets a hold of it, and then he makes a reference to Carnage. He says Carnage, you know.
okay.
So I think he's going to become Carnage probably in whatever the next game is.
Well, it's
More
probably
than
gonna be
likely.
DLC.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
or
gonna be shit.
DLC. Yeah, it could be. So yeah, there
Oh,
was a
what did
tease
you?
there.
I know we're skipping around, but what did you think about the in game credits?
Uh oh my god, what specifically? I'm forgetting.
Oh, when Miles and his mother meets her boyfriend.
Oh, it's okay. So yeah, I don't know who is that. Cindy, I think was the name that they
Yeah, so
name dropped. Who
that's
is that?
Silk. That's it's like the Spider Woman Silk.
Okay, yeah.
So
So I
she actually got bit by the same in the comics. She got bit by the same radioactive spider that Peter got bit by. So
what
it was
the fuck?
yeah. It was in the
Oh my
creators
god.
in the original comics, the creators were kind of horny. She was
Yeah,
super hot. Obviously, I think she was Asian or something like that too. But
yeah.
she was super hot, and she wanted to fuck the shit out of Peter. Like that was
Oh
her
yeah,
whole thing because they had
yeah,
like a strong connection,
yeah.
hormonally because of the spider bit, the same people or whatever.
Hmm.
I don't know if they're gonna. I'm pretty sure they're not gonna do this in this game. But it will be interesting to see what they do with her though. If she is gonna be like
Well,
bitten by the same spider as
yeah.
probably fucking Miles, maybe, or maybe just another
Okay.
spider. I don't know. So I thought
But
that was
I
really
mean,
cool.
you're talking about them not being horny in the game. I mean, if like I didn't play the heist DLC from the first game, but from what I heard, everything with Black Cat and like the first DLC was super like sexual innuendo laden. So
Okay, I
they
didn't
seem
play
to
the
have the
DLC either.
capacity for it, from what I understand. So
Okay, yeah, I
um,
didn't play the Black Cat DLC either. So
yeah, no, it's just what I've heard about it. So but no, I mean the a lot of the side content in the game, the side quests, that were they're actually like side quests you could do in the game. I actually thought those were pretty cool. It was a good way for them to incorporate other villains that they couldn't fit into the main story. Like the one with the fucking hawks or whatever that you have to, you got to chase through the slipstream or whatever. Like that ended up
yeah,
being the chameleon they were trying to chase,
yeah,
which was interesting. And then there was the obviously the flame one, which might be Carnage going forward, but that also had Wraith, which was the cop from the first game that Peter worked with a lot. I forget her, Yuri something. Yuri
yeah,
is her
yep.
name, and she's turned into like a murderous psychopath basically, um, which is an interesting turn for the character, certainly. But no, I think the villains overall are pretty cool. I actually like Craven a lot. I just think like his hunters were too much of the main enemy in the game for
Yeah,
too long. Like Jesus
yeah. I would
Christ, dude.
I would have loved to see more warring factions.
Yeah, agreed. Like there was none of that in this game. Like there are barely any thugs in this game that you just fight. Like random thugs. The only way you fight them generally, there's a couple side quests that have them, and then the random crimes that you see throughout the city. Like those are the only times where you actually fight thugs. I feel like, it's like fucking weird, man. So that was something. The enemy variety was certainly lacking. And then when you get to the symbiote part of the game, it's like all fucking symbiotes everywhere, and they're a pain in the fucking dick to deal with.
Yeah, see, and that's why I didn't finish the game, bro. Because I was playing on the hardest difficulty before Ultimate. You unlock
Yeah,
Ultimate, and I
yeah,
was just
yeah.
like, "Yeah, I'm tired, man." Like the symbiotes are like really tanky, especially the big fat ones that come out of nowhere. I don't know.
You just got to fight him as Peter with his anti venom powers. That's like the only way to deal with them reliably, unfortunately. So yeah, I mean, in terms of villains, like things were good. I think the story overall, like,
It was
I think
okay.
the thing with this game is it gets out at the exact right time. If
Yeah,
it was any longer, like even a couple hours longer, this game would have been overstaying its welcome, in my opinion. I would have been getting sick of it personally.
Yeah. You can
Because
tell
but
they wanted to fit more stuff in there, but they cut it down a lot.
I
I can
think they
tell.
needed to. There was already too much in this game. I think having Miles and Peter be like co-protagonists was already, you could feel the seams were kind of bursting a little bit
Yeah.
with it. Because to your point, like Miles, I feel like just gets relegated to the side for like huge swaths of the story. And that is unfortunate, I guess, because I think he's proven to be an equal to Peter in terms of how interesting he is as a character at times. And obviously, I mean, this was Harry, this was Harry coming back. Like it had to be a Peter centric story in that regard. But, I kind of like the idea of Peter being on the sidelines for a while, and maybe the next game is another Miles centric game. Certainly.
And
So,
I just don't think that's gonna happen because the goblin was obviously hinted at.
yeah, I know. Yeah, so you
And
think you think Norman's going to become Hobgoblin or whatever, Green Goblin?
it's gonna become the Green Goblin. I thought it was shoehorned in my personal opinion. A lot of people don't feel that way. I thought it was shoehorned in though. I just thought
Like
the end,
him being angry at Spider-Man?
yeah, it was for no
I
fucking reason.
totally agree with you. Like cuz dude, you go in there, right? And you save Harry from the Venom monster. You get the fucking thing off him and Miles saves his life. And obviously nobody sees any of this, right? But the first thing that happens when you come out and Norman's like, "What did you do to my son?" Rah!
Yeah.
It's like this came out of nowhere, bro. Like what the fuck are you, why are you so mad? Like your son's fucking alive. Like be happy about that. So that I totally agree. I think Norman going off the fucking reservation like that felt out of left field. And I think the game does that a few times because Harry has the same thing happen, in the midpoint of the game where he like is super angry at Peter and like throws his cane at a fucking window and
Yeah.
he's like fucking Peter, and it's like where is this coming from, dude? Like, because he up to that point, like he's like calling people like, "Hey man, I need the suit. I really need the suit." Like he just sounds like he's meek. But then all of a sudden he just has this burst of anger that comes out all of a sudden out of nowhere. It's like they do that a couple times, and I don't know. It's like I do think the storytelling in this game was a little bit less solid overall, personally.
Yeah, it was just a lot of stuff. I don't know, especially at the end. That the Norman Osborn thing really got to me because I was just like, when he picked up his son Henry. I know they were around a lot of people, but he could have got inside the truck with them and been like, "Listen." And Peter could have took off his mask and like, "Listen, I was here for the whole thing. It's not my fault." And I feel like that would have relegated a lot of shit. Like,
Right.
because he really loved Peter. Like, he considered
Yeah.
Peter like almost a second son. So it
Hmm.
was like that could have relegated a lot of shit. But
Yeah.
I know we need Green Goblin or whatever. And it's like, I guess it was just so forced to me. That was the biggest one I didn't like about the
Well, I
story.
think I think this is you're getting to the crux of where the series of games I think is actually a little weak is in the storytelling. I think they feel the need to get around to all these villains, rather than telling their own story within this universe. They just get like villain crazy and they just want to shove in as many villains as they possibly can. But like I'm gonna point to a game that's really obscure at this point and kind of random, but the Telltale Batman series, seasons 1 and 2, I really liked those because they turned Batman lore kind of on its head. In that series, a
Mhm.
lot of the expectations that you carried into what that was going to be ended up being completely wrong. Like the normal lore of what Batman is not what happens in that game at all. Like character origin stories are mixed up. What who Bruce Wayne's parents are is mixed up, and stuff like that. Like they make changes there and make it their own universe. And I really
Okay.
liked it in that. And I kind of wish they would do that here a little bit more with Spider-Man. I feel like they're kind of sticking to the comics like a little bit too heavily, and it's like it's starting to make things like predictable in a way that's
Well,
not good.
they did change some stuff. So like I said, like the origin story for Venom, he gets attached to like Flash or like Eddie
Yeah,
Brock or something like that, right?
yeah, that yeah, true, which is true. Yeah,
Yeah. So like, um, I do like that, we actually hear those characters like, "Yo, you remember Flash is bullying me and broke the flash drive," and all this stuff. Like, I thought that was really cool, and I like that Harry. But I just feel like I felt like what I thought was going to happen, and this would have been a prime opportunity for them to do it. You remember when not? I think Norman was like, "Yo, I want to try it on myself," and then um Lizard Man, I forgot his actual name, uh
Connors, Dr. Connors.
Connors was like, "No, you can't do that," and maybe he went into the lab or something. Like, it could have been done a lot better. Like, he went into the lab when Connors wasn't there, found some kind of other serum or whatever, and was like, "I'm going to inject myself with this or whatever, and try to save my son or whatever the fuck." And like in the midst of that, he becomes the Green Goblin. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just could have been better ways to do it instead of like at the end you're talking to Doc Ock and it's like, "Oh, well, I know who fucking Spider-Man is," and everything. Like, I just feel like it wasn't realistic. I was just like
Also,
Doc
why
Ock.
would Doc Ock help Norman? You know,
Why would he still
like
hate
his whole
Spider-Man?
motivation to become Doc Ock was because of Norman. Like he fucking hates Norman Osborn in this universe.
Why would
Dude,
he hate Spider-Man, bro? Like, you remember
that,
at the end of Spider-Man 1, like they kind of like rectified their issues. It was like this wasn't the way to go. And
yeah.
like all that's for nothing. I feel like Spider-Man 1, it was for nothing. Like, I had that dramatic battle on the side of the fucking building for no fucking reason. That's how I feel. When I saw that scene, I was just like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess, man.
No, I feel you. I kind of, I don't know. So I think that's the other thing. I think they want to put too many villains in, and I do think the game is a little bit like kind of struggling under the weight of that at times. Because think about how many villains are in this game. Like it's more than a dozen probably over the course of the entire game,
Yeah.
which is crazy to think about for a game that's 25 hours. You're talking a villain every like couple hours. That you're kind of dealing with. So I don't know. As much as I love I love the game, and I think the story was overall solid. I do think there was just too much, like when Mary Jane became a Scream or whatever for like a half second. It was like they just kind of felt like they just want to get that one in there. While I didn't hate the moment that much, it does feel a little shoehorned in. Though ultimately,
Yeah, it was pretty weird. I wasn't expecting it, to be honest with you. Um yeah, now that you mentioned it, that felt really weird. I thought it
yeah.
was really cool at the moment, but like if you're thinking about how everything led up to that moment, I was just like, "Oh, this is kind of weird." Like, I
It's
don't
just
know.
random, dude. It's just
Yeah, it
like
was.
I
I
don't
thought it
know.
was a cool little callback to her comic, so that's cool because I think she had a small comic run.
Hmm.
But besides that, I was just like, huh, okay. Um, Speaking of Mary Jane, fucking Mary Jane, bro. Literally fucking Solid Snake of Spider-Man. Cause what the
Yeah.
fuck, man? She's
So yeah,
taking
how
out
did you
people.
feel about her missions? The three of them that there were.
You know what? I'm glad there are only 3 missions, and they weren't that
They weren't
impactful.
obnoxious.
They weren't obnoxious. There, that's what I'm looking for. They weren't obnoxious.
Yeah.
Um, they actually did serve a main purpose to the narrative, except I can't help but feel like the last mission was very, very like you're reaching.
You're
There's
reaching
no
really
way.
hard. Yeah.
There's no way a fucking normal human being can be able to do the shit that she done in the
She's
last mission.
fighting like symbiotes on her own. She fights a brute by herself. Like, holy shit, dude. Like, no, so I think the first one and the third one are pretty egregious, because the first one you have nothing at your disposal other than that stun gun, and you can't shoot enemies at range. So you're taking out like 15 hunters stealth, and it's like you're literally fighting like a normal human, like the idea that she's stealthy enough to get around these people who are hunters, quote unquote hunters, like that they wouldn't be able to find her in their own fucking base basically is insane to me. So that one, and I already talked about that one too, like how it starts is ridiculous too, where she's in the back of their van for some fucking reason,
It's
and
very, very comic. It's very, very
it's
movie ish.
so comic booky. So that one is a little ridiculous. And yeah, the last one with the fucking symbiote in the symbiote nest and she's getting the meteorite and shit, like, dude, oh my god, bro. Like going through that mission, I'm sitting there like they built this in a very specific way so that these enemies run at you in a line, like so that you can shoot them all back to back.
Yeah.
So they're not coming at you from the sides, they're not coming at you from above, they're not coming at you from below. Like they're coming at you very straight on, straight line attacking you. And they only send like maybe two of those green, runner symbiotes at once, so you don't get overwhelmed or whatever. And yeah, it definitely felt a little bit of a stretch. The only one I liked was the second one. I like that one a lot because it's presented in a very organic way where their house is getting invaded, you know, and Peter completely loses control to the symbiote, and is going on a fucking rampage, and she's like sneaking through residential
Yeah.
areas. Basically, I actually
Yeah.
really like that mission compared to the other two personally. Like,
Yeah, that mission was more realistic, and then even Miles shows up to like kind of save her. I think he does show up after that to save
yes,
her,
yeah,
right?
at the
Yeah,
end of it, yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So that mission was more, like you said, more so realistic and everything like that. I don't know, but even the creator, I know the creator was like, director rather of Insomniac was like, well, fuck it, I don't care that she's overpowered, and it's like I understand, bro. Like you don't care about. There's certain criticisms like you shouldn't fucking care about or whatever, right? Like, oh, but actually, Mary Jane's hair is this shade of red. Like, okay, cool, but like, yeah, like you said, when she's taking out fucking elite hunters who have come over here and they're like taking out SWAT teams and all that shit like that, and they're
yeah.
hunting. They're even taking out sometimes Miles and Peter, capturing them by
Oh yeah,
themselves.
it happened a couple times. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and they can't catch Mary Jane in their base. Like I don't know, bro. It's just really weird to me. So, um, but it wasn't as annoying as Spider-Man 1. So I am okay with that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and I mean from a gameplay standpoint, it was much more. Even that third one, as much as it is definitely like a what the like wow, Mary Jane is like super OP. Uh, that fact though made the mission bearable because it wasn't difficult, as
Yeah,
a result.
exactly. Yeah.
So it's okay, I didn't die at all in that section, and it was fine. It's like you just get through it and it's over. So it wasn't that big of a deal compared to the first game, but I definitely felt like they were really trying to insert Mary Jane into the story really hard in this game. And I get it. Her, Peter, and Harry are like kind of a trio, and their friendship is like kind of important together as a group. But and they do establish that early on in the game too, with the whole the Coney Island part where they're in the amusement park and stuff.
Yeah.
And I did like that section, but I don't feel like there was. It's kind of weird. Like the early part of the game is like littered with that stuff, but I feel like it um that part of establishing their past together kind of falls away though very quickly in the game. Like they stop because there was like a point where they do a flashback sequence of them in the sneaking through the high school and stuff, and they kind of skip over that pretty quickly.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think I feel like everything was established early. So they did set it up properly. I'm not gonna sit here and say they didn't set it up and it came out of nowhere and Mary Jane's like inserted in the story. They did set it up proper that, she is an integral part of the story. She's an integral part of both of their lives. And even to some certain extent, like even Miles's life. So everybody kind of knows everybody. Um,
Yeah,
so I also do like that they just went away with the whole, because this in the movie they still do this, like in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse movies they still do this, where Miles' mother doesn't know that he's Spider-Man. I actually love the idea that Miles' mother knows that he's Spider-Man. His friends know two of his friends know that he's Spider-Man. Uh,
yeah.
you know, Mary Jane knows who Peter Parker is. She knows that he's Spider-Man. Like I love that idea that we don't have to constantly like. Even Harry's like, bro, I kind of figured it out like a long time ago. Like, but
No,
like,
dude, he immediately figures it out. Yeah,
yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
yeah, it
And
was,
so I,
Well, they
I
don't they
like,
don't mask their voices at all, bro. Like if you know them personally, you would hear them speak and you're like, "Oh, Peter? Miles?" Like, come on, dude. Like it's obvious.
yeah, and I like that they didn't really like fuck with the viewer on that shit or the player on that shit. Like, just let it go. You don't have to make scenarios up and everything of why this person didn't know you were Spider-Man or whatever the case may be. So, um,
Well, the idea that Peter's whole neighborhood doesn't know he's Spider-Man though is ridiculous to me. Cuz the like late in the game, like there's a part where Miles shows up. Like Miles is there, after they're celebrating the victory or whatever. And he's literally out there with his mask off, but the suit on, in his fucking driveway. I'm like, what are you doing, dude? Like, do you have any concept of like keeping this secret at all? And then all the shit happening at their house, with the fucking, Peter flying out as the Venom symbiote at night and shit, and all this crazy shit, and these hunters showing up. It's like his neighborhood must know that he's Spider-Man. There's no way they don't. Like I can't, like it's just comical. Like they're not even trying to hide it at a certain point. So I don't know. That part of it is like really funny to me, but
Yeah.
um all right, well, what about other aspects of the game like combat? Do you feel like they evolved the combat enough for you?
I feel like this is one of those rare instances where they didn't really need to involve the combat. They actually kind of changed the combat as far as the gadgets. I kind of like where they went with the combat. Like I said before, I like how the combat was actually, as far as gadgets and everything, it was meant to be a combo extender, not an overpowered functionality.
Yeah.
There's no instance
Yeah.
in the game where I can one shot an enemy. Everything is meant to like either extend the combo or probably mitigate damage or make more damage to get rid of the enemy faster. But there, at no point in the game did I feel super overpowered. I still felt like I still had to hit my combos and press buttons.
I
I
think
will
really
say,
late you get pretty strong though, I will
yeah, you do
say.
get pretty you get pretty strong late in the game. Um but even late in the game with the symbiotes, you have to like kind of pay attention to where you're going and like positioning. Now there
Mhm.
is a middle point in the game, early in the middle point in the game where you can just mash square or whatever your button is, and Spider-Man will like kind of zoom and magnetize towards the enemies and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
Arkham style.
Arkham style.
Makes more
And
sense with Spider-Man than it did with Batman though, for sure.
yeah, that's true. And it was really simple and easy, and that's why I upped the difficulty as far as I did. But then, like I said, it gets really difficult. It doesn't get really difficult, but it does get difficult.
Well,
And you have to kind of manage stuff towards the end of the
yeah,
game.
they do a really good job late in the game of throwing so many enemies at you that you can't just punch combo things to death. Like you have
Yeah,
got to fucking use your abilities and gadgets and stuff. Like there's too
exactly.
many enemies. Like you have got to AoE them down, and they put you in situations where there's like timers and shit that you have to survive for a certain amount of time for, and shit like that. So like I think they did a good job later in the game with combat, keeping it fresh and challenging, and like, kind of forcing you to use abilities and gadgets a little bit more. Like the symbiote nests in particular, like you could not survive those without using your abilities.
Yeah, you had to use the environment and everything around you. At
Yeah,
least I
for
had
sure.
to.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah, I think they did a really good job with combat. The combat never disappointed me. Excuse me, at all. In my opinion, like I said, it was just the middle part, the early to mid part of the game, where you're just mashing square. It actually really didn't start getting difficult, to be honest with you, until the Mysterio challenges. Until like halfway into the Mysterio
Oh
challenges, I was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, okay, I have to
Oh
start
yeah.
doing certain. I have to
Where you
power up
couldn't get
certain.
hit or whatever. Like, oh
Yeah,
my god, those were fucking annoying.
yeah. Or you had to like do finishers at a certain amount of time, and you had
Yeah.
to finish all the
Or
enemies or a certain
knock
amount of
enemies
time.
off of the platform, or whatever.
Yeah.
Kill them. Yeah.
So I think it was worth it. I actually like that because after I did those, like they were annoying as fuck. Don't get me wrong, but then after I did those, I was like using that kind of stuff to my advantage in normal fights, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, and I
It
didn't
almost
even
teaches you a little bit. Yeah.
yeah, and I didn't even realize I was doing that until like I knew I had these moves in my arsenal, but when I was forced to use them, like the knock off people thing, knock off the buildings or whatever, like then I started to realize like, okay, I have these moves in my arsenal for a reason. Like these are really good moves to use and everything. And it was just to me, it was just worth upgrading stuff, and everything of that nature. So, yeah, I actually have little to no complaints about the combat, in my opinion.
What
I
about the
don't know how you feel.
bosses? How'd you feel about the boss fights?
I think the boss fights were really designed really well. My favorite boss fight still was Mr. Negative.
I
That was
love
my
that
favorite.
one. Oh my
Yeah,
god, yeah,
that was
dude.
my
No, that
favorite.
was really good. Yeah,
Yeah.
because he
Uh
has like very distinct phases, but I think the thing I liked about the boss fights in general is the way your abilities could extend your combos in those
yes. Yep.
1v1 situations specifically. So Like you would do your 4-hit combo, and then if you use an ability, you would hit them and it would do a ton of damage, but then they would be vulnerable again, and you can go back in and do another 4-hit combo, and you could
Yep.
string your abilities like that. I remember there were periods I was starting to get so good at it that I was taking entire health bars off before the boss could even react at
Yeah,
times.
I did that to
Um,
Mysterio. I took off
yeah.
his entire health bar
Oh
before he
yeah,
could
yeah,
react.
definitely. Yeah. Yeah. No, I did it to Mr. Negative once, and then I think I did it to Craven actually one time, in one of the Craven fights too.
Okay.
Um, so
Yeah,
but
I
it
actually feel
yeah,
like they were really good. You know who I really thought was very impressive was like the mid tier enemies that had the shields and stuff like that. It
yeah,
wasn't just like slide under them and get rid of your shields. It was like you really had to kind of think about how
yeah,
you approach them, or if you're going to take out the little guys first and then approach them. So I really did like those kind of enemies.
yeah, yeah.
The best actually, and I'll be honest. A lot of people were upset about this. Surprisingly, I actually like the lack of stealth sections, or I like the simple fact that I had a choice to be stealthy, or I can just go ahead and fuck shit up. And there wasn't any kind of
I just
like,
think, dude, yeah, I agree with you. Stealth in this game is so overpowered. It's fucking nuts. Like how easy it is to just stealth kill an entire base of enemies. Like, dude,
yeah,
I was doing that with the hunter bases and the blinds and shit. And I would go through the entire thing and not get seen, and I would just web up, entire enemy, like all the entire thing with, just stealth, because it tells you when it's safe to do it. So
yep,
it's like super easy to get through it, as long as you like turn an enemy around, and then the enemy's safe for like a half second. If you hit the button right, even if it goes back to danger, it doesn't count. Like
yep.
it'll still be a safe kill. So yeah, I felt like stealth in this game is really OP. Later in the game, I got like really impatient when I was like cleaning stuff up. I just started jumping in there and fucking murdering everybody with abilities really fast. um so but yeah, no, I don't mind the stealth sections though. I kind of like the parts of the game where you're like crawling through like building like interiors, like the piping and shit. Like I don't know, I like that stuff. That's like uniquely Spider-Man to me.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. I like how I wasn't forced to do it. Like, I mean, the crawling through the spaces, I like that. But like the stealth sections, like a lot of people wanted more, and I just like that I didn't really like. There are plenty of stealth sections in the game. It's just your choice of what you want to do with it, and I love that I had that freedom of choice to do that.
Yep, no, I totally agree. Yeah, and I think boss fights in general were pretty good, for the most part. I remember the lizard being a kind of a pain in the ass at certain points.
Yeah,
um
and I'll be honest with you, I really didn't have not one bad boss fight that I didn't like. To be honest, I liked
yeah,
all of them.
yeah, no, I,
And I
I
know
agree.
that's hard to say. Like there are some that are more annoying than others, sure, but it was probably like user error more than like me being the game being on bullshit or whatever. That's usually when I judge my fights, my boss fights off of. And like to be honest with you, there were really no. Yeah, I mean, maybe the Venom fight I had some issues with, like some clipping here and there. Um,
Yeah. Well, it's funny. He got easier when he pulled the wings out and started flying. It was weird.
yeah, he got easier.
It was like
Uh,
weird, dude. But did you like the wings? Is that a normal Venom thing? Like
I
him having
actually
wings like that?
I actually don't know. That's a good question.
Because he looked fucking cool as hell, dude. Like I love that look for him.
He looked like Spawn to me when he did that.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Um,
yeah, for sure.
so yeah, I don't know. But I liked it nonetheless. I think it was easier. Um, there was one fight I think was I complaining about that fight? I was bitching about one fight. But I don't know. It was more so like I said, user error. I can't blame it on the game. It was me. Probably I was too tired at night to fucking, I should have been asleep or something like that, and I was fighting the boss or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really don't have any kind of quarrels with the boss fights. This is probably the one of the few games besides like Sekiro where I was like, wow, every boss fight I really enjoyed. But even in Sekiro, I hate the headless ape fight. I hate that fucking
Well,
fight.
I think the reason the boss fights feel good in this game is because they have very consistent design space. Like the bosses, they all have their unique abilities. However, your windows to hit them are very similar between them. Once you get a combo started on a boss, like you can get the full 4-hit combo off before they will
Yes.
unstagger and hit you back. That is very consistent throughout the game.
Yeah,
And I
it
actually
was
think that makes them feel good, as a whole.
Definitely. It was definitely one of those games where if you knew how to take advantage of the combo system, the game rewarded you for that. They didn't really do any kind of arbitrary. In some
Right.
fights, they did do arbitrary like walling where you hit a certain percentage and then
Yeah.
and then the character automatically
True.
jumps out or whatever.
Yeah, that
But
happened a
like
couple times. Yeah.
yeah, like you said, like I did that with the Spider-Man fight. With the Spider-Man fight where I was as Miles and you're fighting him as Venom Spider-Man, I comboed the fuck out of Peter. And like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
it was certain parts of the game where like I think it glitched up on me one time and I had to restart the fight because like nothing would advance because I comboed him so bad. And I think it was supposed to hit a certain point where he's supposed to talk to me or whatever. Um so yeah, I actually like that the game allows me to do that though. So I don't know. I can't see Spider-Man has always had really good boss fights. But this one, like I said, I think out of all the Spider-Mans, even Miles Morales, I think this one had the best boss fights. Even though I still think Miles Morales is the more superior Spider-Man game. Spider-Man
Yeah.
Miles Morales.
Yeah. Gotcha. Well, yeah, I was thinking about the later part of this game too, with the Venom, Venom like taking over the city and stuff, and like I
Oh
will
my
say,
god,
there's
bro.
one part there's one thing about all of this that's like this. Obviously, it's a comic book game, like it's super
Yeah.
cartoony by default, but it was so cartoony when Venom like takes over the city. The idea, and this is something in the whole game that I felt like was kind of weird, was the lack of police presence in the game in general. Like they're literally, the police are almost never part of the game, at any point in the game. And like both Spider-Man have to like take care of every issue that happens,
Yeah.
through the entire city, which I do think was a little weird. But then when the Venom, the tendrils like come out of the ground and shit, and the city's like taken over by these things. I'm like, bro, where is the American military?
I
Like,
was just about to say that.
I'm like, dude, they would have nuked New York if this shit happened in real life. Like, what the fuck, dude?
Well, even with the Sandman situation, right? Like
Absolutely, yeah,
that was like a multi-block, almost a whole tri-state area of like uh of New York or whatever. And it's like I thought that they were going to continue to have damaged buildings, but then the damaged buildings kind of disappear after a while. And I was like, how much time has passed? Since that
well, there's
happened.
a spot on the very south side. I think it's Brooklyn.
Mhm.
That if you go to the very bottom, like there's a couple buildings that are still knocked down with like giant sand piles.
Oh, okay,
And then there's a remnant of his hand on the beach. That is there. Like those things are there. So there
okay,
there is some remnants still there.
yeah. So I don't know. Even with like the giant symbiote nest after you take down everything, um, I don't know. It's just weird. Certain parts of it is just weird, and it's just like yeah, and like when Venom took over the whole city or whatever, I was just like, Insomniac really can't. It would be almost comical if they did have like another video game, and they references those things in Spider-Man. I'm like, where were y'all at? Like, where was the Avengers at? Tony Stark is
I
in this
know, dude.
universe,
Right?
you
I
know.
know. I'm like, what the fuck, dude? For sure.
Like, where is
Um,
Shield at? Where are all
yeah,
these other heroes at? Because like even if you go Matthew Murdock and Daredevil's in this story, somewhere in here, his law firm is there, so obviously he's there.
yeah, yeah,
Like where is he at? Like was he? And then I'm probably gonna have some little side story like, oh, he was actually fighting and saving citizens right during this little cul-de-sac in Hell's Kitchen. It's
yeah.
like
And you,
I was like, whatever, bro.
oh my god, dude. Yeah, for sure. No, no, you're totally right. Like I think that's where the game kind of starts to like go a little too crazy. It's like okay, this is getting so insane that I feel like other entities would start to respond to what is happening in New York City.
Well, I kind of felt like
Um,
that with Spider-Man 1
yeah,
where
yeah.
like
When
there
all the villains got released from
yeah,
Wrath, yeah, right. Like for
yeah.
sure,
And
definitely.
they just took
Yeah.
up like nest and everything in certain buildings, and I'm like, so the military isn't going to respond to this at all, at all. So I don't know. I
No,
feel like it was more realistic with the hunters because they can hide their bases with that technology they had. So that was more realistic. or I guess
Yeah, but
put a
even that, dude, they're like a PMC, like a private military corporation, just flying these fucking military helicopters through like the river, you know, and fucking attacking people, attacking boats and shit. I'm like, what, like, dude. Like, are you got to be kidding me? Like here, that like no one would respond to this, like that the American government would do nothing here, you know, and be like, oh, we're just gonna let Spider-Man deal with it. It's like, okay, these fucking guys are like destroying bridges and buildings and entire piers, and it's just like, oh, it's fine.
Yeah,
Spider-Man's here, you know,
we got a fucking drones flying around and shit like
like
that. Metal
stalking
fucking
people and shit. Yeah,
yeah,
right, dude.
fucking
Yeah,
metal
no,
dogs in the streets and shit. Like,
yeah.
bro, what the fuck?
No, and the idea that no one in this entire story died, like none of the citizens, random citizens ever died. Like, give me a break, dude. There's no shot. There is no shot that no one died, you know? And the symbiote stuff where they were infecting random people and became the symbiote monsters and you just beat the symbiote off of them. Like, it's so comic booky. Like, come on, man, you know? Like, so I don't know.
I'm pretty sure they had some scientific comic book reason why Spider-Man can do
Oh,
that.
I'm sure they did, but you know, Spider-Man's like not holding back at all, fully beating the shit out of him. Miles is like shooting his lightning, and none of these people died. You know, they're fine. They're perfectly fine.
Well, it's just funny
Okay.
when you hit him off the side of a building. Like I know they like some kind of web shooter gets them and stick them to the side of the building, but who comes
Yeah,
to retrieve those people?
I know. Yeah,
Like,
they get like a cherry picker. Like, oh, at
yeah.
the top of the Empire State Building. You know, we got to get this guy off. You know, it's like, yeah, okay, dude.
And then there was one part in particular though. There was Spider-Man 100% killed these people, these villains. Um, you remember the part where you're with Harry and you're trying to save Tombstone? And you're in
Yeah,
that
yeah,
like that
yeah.
lava pit.
Yeah. Oh,
Like
yeah, yeah.
you, even if you knock him into the lava pit, right? It will like I noticed the spider web shooter would stick him to the wall. Well, okay, cool, but that place explodes at the end of that at the end of that sequence.
Yeah.
All
So
those people are
all
dead.
those henchmen die for sure.
Exactly. So I don't know. It's a video game at the end of the day. So
Yeah, it's a fucking comic book video game. So let's calm down and get off our fucking soapbox about it. It is what it is. So all right, so outside of that, I mean, where do you think? I guess where do you think the series is going from here with Spider-Man? Like, where does Insomniac go
well,
from here?
they already announced that the next official Spider-Man game. I think the DLC is going to be. I think they're going to introduce Silk.
Yeah,
Um, and I think they're going to still have you play as Miles Morales and Peter. Um, so I think that's probably going to be a last thing as Peter. But they already announced that the next game is going to be like Spider-Man Miles Morales, or Miles Morales is going to be the main Spider-Man in the next Spider-Man 3 game.
yeah,
So, and I think that's cool. I would still like to see Peter come in here and there, or Miles and may call him for help or advice or something like that. But like,
yeah.
yeah, I definitely like to see Miles Morales be
Well,
Spider-Man.
yeah, but I guess my question is, do you think they can continue to do what they've done with the first three games and just make these Spider-Man centric stories, or are we at the point where we're gonna have like an
I know.
Insomniac Marvel universe? You know,
I think
because we're
I
getting a
think
Wolverine game that's in this universe, supposedly next year. So
yeah, I think they're gonna. I think they would have to do like an Insomniac Marvel universe. I think that's
like, you think they'll start putting the Avengers in here and stuff and expanding it out?
ugh, man, putting the Avengers in there is a crazy call.
Risky.
Yeah. Just because. So it's funny, and I really think this is what I really think. I think at some point they were going to combine Marvel Avengers, even though that was a Square Enix game, and Spider-Man game, because it just so happened, right? In Spider-Man 2018, they already say like, oh, the Avengers are on the West Coast, and what game takes place on the West Coast? The Avengers,
Yeah. Yeah.
the what you call it, Avengers game. So, I think it's going to be a while before they touch like an Avengers game. But I do think they might make I would actually like a Captain America game, or maybe a Black Widow game. I think those
Yeah.
would be very cool, very grounded games, set in that universe, and I would like to see what they would do with those kind of characters or whatever.
Yeah, I just ask because I do think a fourth game like this will start to I just feel like it'll start to wane a little bit in terms of its resonance with people, because I mean these games are very samey now at this point, you know?
Yeah.
Like Spider-Man 2, as much as it is better than the other two probably in a lot of in terms of gameplay and stuff, I don't feel like it's really pushing the series that much anymore, you know?
Yeah, it was
Like
just the
we've
fact
kind
that
of
we had
seen
both of them in
everything that
there.
they're going to do with Spider-Man, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think I think maybe they should be more smaller, like in scope, like Miles Morales. I think that's why I love Miles Morales so much. The Spider-Man Miles Morales games, because it was just like a $50 game, and I got like a 20-hour story out of it, and it was very his story, and that was it. And I would actually like that. I don't need full fledged like 2 or 3 Spider-Man swinging around or Spider Woman swinging around. I think it would be very cool if they just you know do DLC from here on out. I would be okay with that. I don't think a lot of other people. I don't think Sony would be okay with that. But I think that's where they should go with it to be safe. But I
Yeah.
don't think they're going to do that. But what I don't want, because how many Batman games are there? There's Batman Arkham, the Arkham series, and there's the Origin series, right? Isn't like 3 of them or one?
No, there was only one Arkham
Okay,
Origins.
and then we had Arkham Knights. So we had
Gotham Knights. Yeah.
Gotham. I'm sorry, the Gotham Knights. Rather, I still consider that like an Arkham game, even though it's terrible. So we had 5 games, and they got progressively worse.
Right.
Um, Depending on who you talk to, Arkham's Knight and then I'm sorry, Arkham City, and then Arkham. Is it
Knight.
Arkham
Arkham Knight.
Knight?
Arkham Knight's the
Arkham Knight.
third one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Arkham Knight. I always get those two confused. Uh, uh, though that's somebody's goat in there. Like, oh, Arkham Knight's the goat, and then Arkham City's the goat. To me, in my opinion, I know this is a hard sell for a lot of people. The first Arkham game was the GOAT for me. Like, it was small, it was condensed. I was condensed to the Arkham Island, prison islands, and I just thought it was like really fucking cool, just like being there. But
Yeah, and they
that's
even
just me.
managed that with a lot of villains being juggled around
Yeah,
in that
exactly.
game. But the reason I like Miles is that it's small in scope, not only in like length, but also in just the number of characters that they were juggling. You know, there's only a few villains. It's not that many villains, you know, in that game, and I
Yeah,
kind of like that smaller scoped story. Whereas these two other mainline games have just been so littered with characters, dude. Like there's just so many fucking villains they're trying to juggle, and at a certain point, it gets like kind of cartoony how many there are that like they're all just running around and they're fucking they're doing crazy shit, and it's like, dude, and Spider-Man's the only one that can stop them all. It's like, I mean, that doesn't feel
well,
realistic at a certain point,
it's
you know?
it's also like with Spider-Man 1 as well. Spider-Man already established lore with those villains, and I kind of wanted to see like what it was for how hard it was for him when he fought like Rhino the first time and Scorpion the first time and shit like that. Um, but I don't think we're gonna get that. But I don't know. It was just really interesting to see when we already got an established Spider-Man in Spider-Man 2018, and like the villains already knew who he was and everything of that nature. So I don't know.
Spider-Man prologue game, that'd be interesting. Or
Yeah,
prequel, sorry, prequel.
Spider-Man Origins.
Yeah, Spider-Man Origins as well. All right, well, is there anything else you want to talk about with this game?
No, I think it was a solid 9 out of 10, 9.5 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, I think
Been a
I'd probably give
nine,
it a
nine point
9. I think
five.
I'd give it a 9 probably.
Yeah,
But it's a very good game. I think a fourth game with this exact same structure and setup and story kind of development, like I think the scores are going to start to go down though for me if they just keep like recycling the same type of game over and over again, you know.
yeah.
Because even the traversal, like as much as I love it and I think they've done a great job with it, at the point where it's like, what more can you really do with it? Like they introduced the glider, wings, and I'll be honest, that's debatable if that makes traversal better or not. I kind of feel like it doesn't, from my perspective, but um, so it's like, what more can you really do with this? At this point, but it is Insomniac, so I'm sure they can surprise me. But so yeah, no, Spider-Man 2, great game. And it'll definitely be in the conversation of best games of the year for sure. It probably won't win that award from anybody, but given how crazy this year is, but it'll be in that list for sure. But All right, Macho. Well, is there anything else you want to talk about before we go today?
Nope, that's it.
All right. Well, thank you guys for listening. If you like this episode, please like the show, review the show, and subscribe to the show, whatever feed you are listening to it on. And please share it with your friends. If you'd like to interact with us on Twitter, you can do so at iTrap for the Hokage for Montrell. That is the number 4, not the word. I am at ThunderNut01, and the show is at The Player's Take. If you'd like to send us a question, you can do so on Twitter, or you can send us an email to theplayerstake01 at gmail.com. And that is going to be it for us, guys. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and we will see you guys next week. All right, bye.